Good morning, councillors. I'm Councillor Julian Kirk, Chairman of the Norfolk County Council. I'd like to welcome you all to this council meeting and quickly go through some general housekeeping. This meeting is being held in person at County Hall and also being streamed live on the County Council's YouTube channel. The recording will be available to view afterwards. The fire alarm test is not expected during this meeting. If the alarm sounds, we must evacuate County Hall in the event of an emergency. Please make your way to the nearest exit and meet in the muster point located in the main car park. Please could I also ask everyone in the chamber to ensure their laptops, mobile phones and tablets are switched to silent while the meeting is in progress. Please do not leave the devices on vibrate. If you need to leave the meeting early, could you please also remove your card and leave it on the desk so that the AV system can see that you're no longer in the meeting. Under the Council's protocol on the use of media equipment at meetings held in public, this meeting may be filmed, recorded or photographed. Anyone wishing to do so must inform me and ensure that it's done in the way that is clearly visible to everyone present. The wishes of any individual not to be recorded or filmed must be appropriately respected. I'd like to welcome a chaplain for today, the Reverend Albert Cadmore, to begin today's proceedings by calling upon him for prayers. Thank you.
Almighty God, we come to you today seeking your guidance and inspiration as we gather for this council meeting. Help all to engage in meaningful discussion. Guide us in the ways of truth, tolerance, wisdom, integrity and mutual respect. And keep us ever mindful of the needs of the people and the communities that we seek to serve. And we pray in your name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Before, I think there are members of the public here. Before we start the meeting, can I remind members of the public that this is a meeting held in public and not a public meeting where the attending audiences participates. You've come along to listen to the discussion carried out by democratically elected councillors. May I warn you that if there is any disturbance to this meeting, you will be asked to leave or accompanied from the building. Thank you. Can we check with Alex? Yep, we're live. Okay, thank you. For those that have just joined us, I'm Councillor Julian Kirk, Chairman of Norfolk County Council. Welcome to this meeting of Norfolk County Council today, Tuesday the 21st of July 2026. We can now move to those who have given their apologies for the meeting. I will ask Leanne Teasdale, Committee Officer, to give the apologies, please.
Thank you, Chair. We have apologies today from Councillor Ben Weston, Councillor Stuart Clancy, Councillor Victoria Holiday, Councillor Anthony Little, Councillor Daniel McGrath and Councillor Ben Griffin. Thank you.
Thank you, Lane. May I remind you that the meetings of the Council will not be extended beyond 3 hours unless it is extended in accordance with Rule 11.1 of the Council Procedure Rules. However, it is my intention to enact Rule 4 and Rule 4.6 of the Constitution once the meeting period has elapsed. If any business remains, the practical application of this will be that the meeting will continue on a vote-only basis. I intend to adjourn the meeting for approximately 2 hours time for about 30 minutes for a break. Thank you. We now move on to agenda item 2, the minutes of the County Council meetings held on Thursday the 28th of May. Page 5. Please note this is for matters of accuracy only. Councillor Roper.
Thank you, Chairman. A very small one, just on page 9, 12, 10. I think there's a vote there which has got more votes than we've actually got councillors. I think it was actually 34 and 47 against, not 40. But if that could be checked down outside of the meeting and amended accordingly.
Thank you. We now move to Agenda 3, announcements from the Chair and Chief Executive. I'm sad to announce the passing of former County Councillor Michael Chenery of Horsburgh. Councillor Chenery represented the division of Docking from 2009 until May 2026 and has served as Chair of the Norfolk Records Committee for many years. I ask the Council to stand for a minute's silence in his memory. Thank you. Thank you. The events I have attended during the last month can be found on the Council website. And I'd also like to thank my Vice Mike for covering me for many events. Thank you. Councillor Westman's now got a short statement to make on a recent visit he made. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. I'd like to provide an update on our support for the Ukraine and our ongoing partnership with the Lviv region. In June, I represented the County Council at the Ukraine Recovery Conference in Gdansk. The conference is a major international event that aims to support the Ukraine's recovery and reconstruction from the ongoing conflict. There was a number of notable attendees, including national governments, leaders from across Europe, and Norfolk County Council. The visit provided an opportunity to meet with Ukrainian leaders, businesses, and partners across a range of sectors that we have in common. There was a particular focus on our links across healthcare, where there is a growing relationship between the Norfolk and Norwich University Hospital, the UEA, and their Ukrainian counterparts. This will continue later this summer as the hospital will be hosting a delegation from the Ukraine, and I look forward to welcoming them to Norfolk once again. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. I would personally like to thank everybody who were involved in the Norfolk show at the end of June. Despite the high temperatures, it was a rousing success. I was there both days with engagements and visiting stalls, and credit to all involved from the council for that. Thank you very much. Item 4, we now move to the agenda. Sorry, David, go ahead.
Thank you, Chairman. I've got a couple of statements to make. The first is concerning plans by the Home Office to house some 1,250 undocumented immigrants at the former MOD site at Barnham. I can confirm that the Reform Administration at Norfolk County Council categorically objects to this move, and we will do all we can to stop it. The site falls just within the Suffolk border, and Thetford, just a mile away, will be heavily impacted. Hundreds of illegal immigrants, presumably young men who have passed through several safe countries to reach the UK by boat, will be free to move through Thetford and other towns and villages across Norfolk. The Home Office acted without any warning or consultation with local councils or communities. We learned about it shortly before the media did, and this is entirely unacceptable. This is far from a temporary arrangement. The Home Office's own website states the minimum period will be 10 years. I can confirm that I wrote to the Home Secretary on the 15th of June to outline our staunch objection. It took a month, or just over a month, to receive a reply from the Minister for Border Security and Asylum, no longer I think, who confirmed the government's obligations to support otherwise destitute asylum seekers and their dependents. The immigration failures of this Labour government and the Conservative governments before it now threaten to become a reality on our doorstep. Local families, many of whom have been in touch with me personally, are quite rightly deeply concerned, very fearful and very angry. We will work with Suffolk County Council to support our local communities and continue to make the case that this is the wrong location for mass asylum accommodation. We will keep pressing the Home Office until it abandons this lunatic idea. Our local communities must come first, and the county councils in Norfolk and Suffolk will do everything they can to protect them. My other statement is relatively brief, and it will be the subject of a fuller report at the end of the summer, hopefully by the time of the next full council. And it relates to the drilling down that we've been doing on both capital and revenue expenditure. I will confine my comments for the moment to what we've found on capital expenditure. It's fair to say that no one has yet come into my office and used the phrase, this contract has been delivered on time and on budget. In contrast, what we've actually found so far is tens of millions of pounds of overspend and wasted spending, and an appalling lack of oversight from the previous, at least the previous two Tory administrations. It is really rather disappointing to find that contracts weren't properly written and that inadequate oversight prevailed on many of them. We will be going into much more detail on this. We obviously have to put our eye to the future as well as the past, but this administration is determined, very determined, to make sure that we do not have a repeat performance of this unnecessary overspending and this unnecessary lack of oversight. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Item 4, we now move on to agenda item 4, members to declare of any interest. Do councillors have any interest they wish to declare? Councillor Wisowski.
Morning, yes. I'm a teacher in a secondary school that's part of an academy trust, so it might come up in the questions.
Thank you. Thank you. Agenda item 5, petitions presented to the council. There are no petitions to be debated today. Agenda 6, business, if any, remaining from the last full council meeting. We have no outstanding business. Agenda 7, questions to the leader. We now have 15 minutes for questions to the leader. I will start the first round by selecting the first questionnaire from the Liberal Democrat group.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Given that the government has set a timetable for LGR in Norfolk and that voluntary joint committees have been established to oversee the transition to the 3 new unitary councils, can the leader explain the rationale for Reform's decision not to nominate any councillors to those committees, and how he believes this serves Norfolk residents during such a critical period? Thank you.
I'd like to thank Councillor Watkins for his question. I think he probably knows the answer before I give it. We are very focused on things that deliver and things where decisions are going to get taken. We thought and believe and still continue to believe that this is an unnecessary distraction. These are not decision-making bodies, they are talking shops. I understand why Some councillors like to participate in talking shops, but they don't actually contribute to outcomes. And that's what we have to concentrate on. If you want to go ahead and meet with counterparts on district councils, then be my guest. But we are committed, in the event that the government does go ahead with LGR, to the committee structures that have been proposed by government, and we have made that clear in a letter to the government.
Thank you. Green Group. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much, Chair. This month, the Met Office reported more than 2,700 excess deaths estimated in England and Wales during the May and June heat waves, mostly people over 65 years old. 3 consecutive days of record-breaking June temperatures culminated in excess of 37 degrees Celsius being recorded in Lingwood, Norfolk. This was followed by a third heat wave, with another predicted for the start of August. So this is serious heat waves. As a county with a statistically older population, with some of the highest temperatures and hours of sunshine in the UK, we have a duty of care to our residents, workers and visitors to adapt to our changing climate and protect ourselves from extreme heat. The more frequent and intense heat waves are impacting many aspects of our lives, including human health, agriculture, transport, infrastructure, biodiversity and the economy. Could the leader tell us what guidance is being provided to schools, care homes, public and community buildings, workplaces about mitigating the impact of high temperatures and prolonged heat waves? Thank you.
I'd like to thank Councillor Davis for his question. I think there is standing advice, as he probably well knows, from the council to all the institutions that it serves in the event of extreme weather. And it's not for me to make that up as I go along. I am mindful that the excess temperatures this summer almost mirror the summer temperatures 50 years ago in 1976, and I'm amongst those who remember 1976. And obviously before that we had the ice ages. I continue to make the point, and my other colleagues can make the point much more adroitly than I can, that I'm in no way convinced by some of the more extreme propaganda that comes out from the extreme left about climate. But I am confident that this council does everything in its power to protect its residents. And lastly, most importantly, any deaths that occur other than through natural causes and old age are to be regretted, clearly.
Thank you. Great Yarmouth First, Restore Britain Group. Thank you.
None from us, thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Conservative Group.
Thank you, Chairman. Councillor Bick, your administration has now been in office for around 2 months. Could you tell the Council what you regard as your administration's greatest achievement so far? Just for reference, would it be perhaps removing the Ukrainian flag from County Hall and upsetting the President of Ukraine, or perhaps cancelling the free entry to Norfolk museums during the summer holidays for children, or abolishing the local members fund, removing one of the few ways local councillors can directly respond to the needs of their own communities, or perhaps it's announcing to library staff that pride displays should not take place, only for officers to issue a public clarification confirming that no policy had in fact changed. Or is there another achievement that you better believe demonstrates your administration's priorities during its first 2 months in office?
The very intense first 8 weeks, come this Thursday, in office, have been, as I say, intense on a daily basis. The primary achievement to date has been the vast amount of work done by my cabinet on unearthing some of the overspend that I conducted by the councillors' administrations, because it sets a touchstone for how this council should be run on a sustainable basis for the benefit of its residents in the future. As far as the local member fund's concerned, but that's clearly going to be the subject of a debate later on, so I won't usurp that. The councillor who asked the question knows full well, because I distributed it to every member of the council, the letter I received earlier this week, or the back end of last week, from the ambassador to the Ukraine, where he was very fulsome about the support that this council is giving that country, and he made the specific point that flags weren't the issue because substance matters over symbols. Obviously, nobody's told the Green Party about the substance over symbols argument. As far as the pride displays are concerned, we have done nothing to policy. We are simply following the policy of the previous administration. The only difference between us and the previous administration is that we implement policy.
Thank you. A Labour member? Not here? No. Non-aligned member?
Thank you, Chair. My question to the leader is this. I brought a motion to the last full council asking the council to pause the planned sell-off of all the council's care homes to a private firm, which had been decided by the previous administration, and the council had managed to borrow £900 million in its capital budget but had not invested in its care homes. What is this administration going to do to make sure that there's affordable residential care for residents and that the council's care homes are invested in and saved for the future for our people here in Norfolk?
I'm grateful to Councillor Kemp for her question because she raises a very important issue. This administration is currently wrestling with a very complex and difficult problem, particularly around North's care. We will keep the council updated on our progress, and progress is being made, but we are not yet at the point of being able to announce a solution. But what is uppermost in our minds is that there is sufficiency of quality accommodation that is required by the Adult Social Care Department. That is the primary concern and will remain the primary concern.
Thank you. Reform Group. Councillor?
Thank you, Chair. Can the leader outline why the fire service so badly needs the funds previously allocated to the community fund?
Thank you for your question, Councillor White. I'm grateful for the opportunity to make a number of points here. The first is that the community fund was introduced last year. Some cynics amongst us may come to the conclusion that this fund was introduced by the previous administration for vote-winning purposes. Well, if it was, it didn't work. What is certainly the case is that, like the local member fund, it's applied to multiple projects. It's not, and it's probably the least most efficient way of deploying funds and officer time. And that was what the guiding principle was, both on this and local member fund. The reason for diverting it to the Norfolk Fire and Rescue Service should be obvious to everybody. First, it's a very, very important and very necessary emergency service. It has been structurally underfunded for years. And I would also add to that, and this is in relation to capital, not revenue, that really quite disgracefully, the Fire and Rescue Service estate, the fire stations principally, have not had any meaningful capital expenditure or refurbishment expenditure for 10 to 15 years. And needless to say, that's led the estate into something of disrepair that's not acceptable in a civilised society trying to protect its citizens.
Thank you. I'll now take questions from the following councillors for the second round. Liberal Democrat Group. Thank you. Councillor.
Thank you, Chair. The Parish Partnership Scheme is long established and has benefited probably every parish and rural community in Norfolk. And I know my own parish councils are already looking to identify schemes for the future. Can the leader please give an assurance that the scheme will continue for a further year so that our parishes and rural communities can continue to benefit from it, and that all projects identified for the current year will be delivered?
As far as I'm aware, Councillor Roper, and thank you for your question, I haven't even heard that scheme, had that scheme raised with me, so I see no reason why it should continue as it is, and the projects under it go ahead.
Green Group.
Thank you. Norfolk County Council is required to appoint member representatives to several outside bodies. These outside bodies rely on the input of elected members representing their councils to make significant decisions affecting residents, businesses and visitors. At recent meetings of outside bodies, it has been pointed out that county council members have not yet been assigned or attended. I believe some district representatives may be willing to fulfil both roles if required. If they haven't been made already, can the leader indicate when outstanding appointments will be made?
I've just been advised by the Chief Whip that all of these appointments will be made by the time of the next Cabinet in early August.
Thank you. Great Yarmouth first. Any questions this time?
Yeah, just a very quick one in relation to what Councillor Bick said earlier about the terrible situation that the Home Office is imposing on us currently. Just to say that our group fully supports you know, the action that Reform are taking against that. And if there's anything that we can do to sort of support that, please do let us know, because we're very happy to support any letters or anything.
Chair, point of order. There's no question there. There's no question.
The question is, if there's anything we can do, please do let us know. And I ask the councillor, the leader, if there's anything that he would like us to do to support that. There's the question.
I'm most grateful to Councillor Whedon's question, and certainly will turn to him if we need any further support. Thank you.
Conservative Group.
Thank you, Chairman. On a point of order, actually, the investment in the fire service has been going ahead because we've been putting in facilities for female firefighters. But my question is, the Royal Norfolk Show is the major showcase of the county during the year and attended by many thousands of people. The leader of the council has always attended the show, or at least they did until this year. Can the leader explain, please, why he chose not to attend the show this year, why he has since decided that the council should no longer promote its work through a Norfolk County Council marquee at the Norfolk Show, even though his own political party saw fit to have its own stand there? And why did he think it was appropriate to send his deputy in his place, who incidentally arrived 40 minutes late for the President's luncheon attended by Her Royal Highness the Princess Royal, which did little to project Norfolk County Council in a professional light?
It was my decision to send the Deputy Leader. I'm very sorry if he was late, particularly in the presence of probably one of the most popular royals in this, and highly regarded royals in this country, so I will duly admonish him in due course. As to why I wasn't there, if she'd been in my office and seen the workflow coming through, in very large measure because of the failures of her own administration, she would understand why I wasn't there.
Thank you. Reform Group. No questions. Thank you. Third round. Liberal Democrats again, please. Thank you.
Thank you. Given that NCC have not flown the Pride flag this year and the positive celebration here today, is the leader and cabinet happy to join the many councillors who attended today in wishing everyone who attends any Pride event in Norfolk a happy, peaceful and joyful time?
With apologies, Councillor, I didn't really hear your question.
Given that NCC have not flown the Pride flag...
Councillor, could you bring your mic down a little bit, please? Thank you.
Given that NCC have not flown the Pride flag this year and the positive celebration here today, is the leader and cabinet happy to join the many councillors who attended today in wishing everyone who attends any Pride event in Norfolk a happy, peaceful and joyful time?
Very happy to wish everybody a happy, peaceful time. As for attending that celebration, no, but thank you.
That's the end of the questions. Thank you. Agenda 8, recommendations from Cabinet. I call upon the Leader of the Council to move the recommendations from the Cabinet meeting on the 29th of June.
Happy to so move, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Very happy to second, Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody wish to speak on these? Councillor Kemp.
Yes, I have a question. I would like to ask why the budget for the Castle Museum renovations has gone up by £6.5 million. I don't see how that's justified.
Anybody else? Can we put those to the vote, please? Electronic, isn't it? Yeah. If you. Okay, I think all the votes are in. 460, abstention 16. That's carried. Thank you. Oh, 17 abstentions now, sorry. 61. And 61 for. Carried. Thank you. Agenda item 9. I'll wait for that to scroll over. Thank you. Agenda 9, Cabinet reports and questions to Cabinet members. We now turn to reports from the Cabinet and questions to Cabinet members. I call upon the Leader to move the Cabinet report for the meetings held on the 7th of April and the 29th of June. We now have 30 minutes. Just wait a second. Are you going to? Can you move those? Like to move those?
So move.
Have you a seconder? Thank you. With 30 minutes for questions to Cabinet members, which can relate to anything within the remit of the Cabinet members' portfolio, are not limited to items on the Cabinet report. Questions will not be taken in prescribed portfolio order and can be any Cabinet member. I will start the first round by selecting the first questionnaire from the Liberal Democrat group. Thank you.
Thank you. It's a question to the Deputy Leader and Portfolio Holder covering LGR. There was a letter from the Deputy Leader to the Secretary of State in early June, which was followed by a press report in the EDP on the 5th of June, stating that officials have been told to down tools in relation to LGR. Please could the Deputy Leader confirm what work is not now happening from officers and officials that was scheduled to happen?
Thank you, Chairman, and thank you, Councillor Roper, for the question. As I've already told the member, he shouldn't believe everything he reads in the papers. I've never used the expression down tools. That's an expression that the EDP reported. But as the member is well aware, and as the Leader has already referred to, we will not be engaging in the voluntary joint committees. I think that's probably the inference that the EDP drew from my comments, hence that headline was then reported. But the member is well aware that we are preparing, we're doing everything we legally have to do to prepare for local government reorganisation. But as members are aware, we are fighting this through judicial review, and I very much hope that we will be successful in that endeavour. But the member knows fully well that we will do everything we can. This administration will do everything it can to protect frontline services. None of that will be put in jeopardy in any way, and we have the implementation board working and officers working in the background to ensure that we are prepared. But as Councillor Bick has already said, this council and this administration is all about delivery. It's not about talking shops and voluntary joint committees. When those voluntary joint committees become constitutional, when the SCO is laid by government, then of course we will be legally obliged to engage in them, and we will do so, and we will send our own representatives to those groups, and I will represent this council as one of those members on those groups. But until that point, we're not going to engage. We're going to fight LGR tooth and nail. We're going to tell the government that the current system in Norfolk, in local government, works, and I hope very much that we will win that judicial review when the hearing comes. Thank you.
Thank you. Green Group. Councillor Webb.
Thank you, Chair. My question's to Councillor Atkinson, please. Last week's Joining Up Send report by the Institute for Government reported that wide-scale NHS reorganisation, set to see the loss of 18,000 jobs, has fallen disproportionately on special educational needs and disabilities teams, and that without urgent intervention, the restructuring of ICBs threatens to derail SEND reform before it has properly begun. Officers at the Council have acknowledged that workforce and recruitment to the Government's Experts at Hand programme is one of the major risks to this Council SEND reform plan. So what pressure is the Cabinet member putting on both the Departments of Education and Health and Social Care to ensure that enough gravitas is being given to the concerns that have been spelled out in this report? Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Webb. Yes, it is a very important issue around having the right resources in place to deliver against our plan. It is something that hopefully we will get to discuss later on with one of the motions that's up for discussion. But I'm working very closely with the team and the officers, and I'd like to come back to you with a full answer on that after this meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Great Yarmouth first. Restore.
No questions, thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Conservative Group. Thank you, Daniel. Councillor Daniel.
Thank you very much, Chair. My question's to the Chief Whip. Given that budget responsibility roles are already shared with the leader, could you explain what the role of Chief Whip consists of on a day-to-day basis and reassure this council that its funds aren't being used for the party political purposes of Reform UK?
Thank you for the question. No, the Council's funds are not being used for the party political purposes of Reform UK. Most of what I do is being engaged in the budget responsibility side. In terms of the Chief Whip role, I am the Group Whip role for Reform UK, which is an officer role within Reform UK. But that is not part of my role as Chief Whip in this council. I liaise with democratic services, ensuring that meetings are put together, that people are attending meetings, that absences are noted, and that agendas are prepared in a timely manner, they've been distributed, etc. So it's more to do with operationally helping the council ensure the smooth running of all the meetings. Thank you.
Thank you. Non-aligned member.
Thank you. My question is to the Cabinet Member for Adult Social Care and Public Health. You may be aware that the NHS allocated funds 11.5 million to build a new health hub in Kings Lynn, and this came to the Health Committee some time ago. However, a decision has been taken by the NHS not to put doctors into the new primary care health hub. This isn't going to raise life chances and reduce health inequalities in the extremely deprived ward it is located in South Lynn. And could the Cabinet member make representations to the NHS so that we don't have a two-tier health system in which doctor surgeries are moved out to leafy suburbs and people in deprived areas find it harder to access GPs?
Thank you for the question. I do agree with you that it's very important to have GP surgeries with a wide geographical spread, particularly where people live, and particularly in deprived areas. And I'm happy to support the work to get this
health centre up and running. Thank you.
Thank you. Reform Group. Thank you.
Question for Councillor Atkinson. Given the recent string of fires associated with rooftop-mounted solar power installations at schools in Suffolk, I would like to know what action Norfolk County Council intends to take to proactively assess and mitigate, where required, the equivalent risk in this county. Also, will this intervention extend beyond schools?
Thank you, Councillor Jameson. Yes, we are aware of the situation in Suffolk, and we've received reports from them about incidents concerning safety regarding solar panels. The small number of schools with solar panels on that are part of our building maintenance programme are inspected regularly, and we would expect all schools to carry out regular inspections themselves. I'm going to be speaking with officers to find out more information about the incidents in Suffolk, and in particular I'd like to know more about the products that are being used and the installers for those installations, so that we can see if we have any of a similar vein here in Norfolk. So yes, I am working closely with the team at the moment to keep an eye on this situation.
Thank you. We move on to the second round. Liberal Democrat Group.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you. Norfolk County Council previously spent around £200,000 on rebuilding dangerous and deteriorated pavements on Links Avenue and Linwood Road in Cromer. And these were very old pavements, and the County Council did a very good job of the replacement surfacing. However, the gas undertaker has recently attended and dug them all up and laid new trenches across. And they're able to do this in the absence of a Section 58 notice being in place to protect the surfacing. So will the portfolio holder for highways ensure that the authority are maximising its use of Section 58 notice and ensuring we are protecting our investment in new roads and pavements?
Thank you, Councillor. The answer is yes.
Thank you. Green Group. Councillor, thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Chair. This is for the Cabinet Member for Highways and Transport. We currently have about 80 EV charging points via our contractor Blink on the streets in Norwich, with most having been activated over a year ago. However, we have not yet finalised any TROs to change the parking restrictions at these points, which means many bays are occupied by non-EVs. Last week I noticed that all 8 on Grove Road had non-EV vehicles blocking the charging spaces. I understand that the current plan is to initially only apply a token amount of TRO changes, which makes a farce of placing the charges on our streets. Could the Cabinet Member explain the long delays in changing the parking restrictions at these points and the logic in now only applying the restrictions to a handful?
Thank you, Councillor. Yeah, this is something which was brought to me about 2 weeks ago. I'm currently in discussion with Highways at the moment, and I will come back to you with a full answer. Thank you.
Thank you. Great Yarmouth first.
No, thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Conservative Group.
Thank you, Chairman. This is a question to the Cabinet Member for Efficiency, Performance and Pensions Oversight, which I believe is Councillor Jason Butler. Reform was elected on a promise to improve efficiency and ensure taxpayers receive value for money. But given that the leader has, within the first 2 months of this administration, delegated a number of responsibilities to others, including sending his deputy to represent Norfolk County Council at the Royal Norfolk Show and snubbing the Princess Royal, and also asking the Chief Whip to chair a cabinet meeting, even though he and the deputy were both present, and it was a clear breach of the Constitution. Do you consider that the leader is providing value for money for the £40,000 special responsibility allowance attached to that office? And if the leader is regularly delegating responsibilities that are fundamental to that role, have you considered, as Cabinet Member for Efficiency, whether reducing or removing part of that allowance would represent a genuine efficiency saving for Norfolk taxpayers?
Well, thank you for that very long, full question.
Is the leader, I think essentially, are you saying in the efficiency review, should we just reduce the leader's wages? Quite frankly, I think we should put them up. What he has to contend with on a daily basis is quite frankly unbelievable. I'm across every department in the council. I do 60-hour weeks, and I know he does as well. We speak every day, probably 4 or 5 times a day. It is unrelenting, the work that we have to do to try and find both root cause problems, better ways of working, and also unearthing best practice as well as bad practice. What I do find here is that the leader has certainly from what I can see, has provided a new sense of optimism, a new sense of hope, and a decisiveness in terms of leadership, which sadly was lacking before. And I'm certainly very proud to work for him, and also I'm very proud to work with my cabinet colleagues. And quite frankly, if you were doing the jobs that we are doing to the level that we're doing them on, you wouldn't, £250,000 a year wouldn't even touch the sides. So we don't do it for the money, we're doing it to make a difference. He is giving strong leadership. Is he perfect? No. Who is? Are we learning on the job as we go? Yes, we are. Are we working at pace with absolute determination? Yes, we are. And do you know what also? I've been heartened by the amazing support we've had from lots of the senior leaders in this council, these executive managers, but also people, whether they're on security or they're serving coffee. There's good people in this council, and they just need to be well led, and Councillor Bick is doing that.
Reform Group.
Thank you, Chair. This is a question for the Cabinet Member for Business Skills and Agriculture. The development of the new Operations and Maintenance Campus in Great Yarmouth is a massive milestone for Norfolk's clean energy sector. Could the Cabinet Member outline how this brilliant facility is already creating local jobs, and what steps the Council is taking to ensure Norfolk's young people have the specific skills needed to secure these high-paying, future-proof careers? Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Day. You're absolutely right to highlight this. There's a lot of great work going on at the quayside, a full refurbishment, construction of new vessel pontoons, and expanded site facilities. It's already created 650 new highly paid jobs, and that's largely backed by the National Wealth Fund. So what is the Council doing to upskill the community? Well, we're delivering energy skills boot camps, a free 16-week skills boot camp, which focuses on engineering, logistics and construction. We're also engaging in apprenticeship matching, which is where we match employers to the skills that are needed, looking at supply chains for energy and highway maintenance contractors. And we continue to support our colleges, East Coast College, City College, and the College of West Anglia in particular, with their courses in engineering and construction, as well as the University of East Anglia.
Thank you.
Chair, can I make a point of order, please?
Yep.
Thank you very much. It's disappointing to see that the Green Party over there jeering, considering...
Sorry. No.
There was swearing and offensive language used by a member of...
We'll leave it until after the meeting, please. Thank you. Third round, Liberal Democrat Group. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman, and good morning, all councillors. My question is for Councillor Wendy Atkinson. So the recent Melbourne Draft NEAT report highlights that hundreds of thousands of young people nationally are neither in work nor education and are not claiming benefits, meaning they are effectively out of work and out of sight. What estimate does Norfolk County Council have of this cohort within Norfolk, and what proactive work is being undertaken to identify and engage these young people before they become further detached from education and employment? Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Thomas, for your question. Yes, it's a grave concern. We don't want any young people in the NEAT category. So it is something that I'm working with officers on, and I'd like to get that information together and send it back to you. Thank you.
Thank you. The Green Group. Thank you. Councillor.
Thank you. I've got a question for Councillor Wendy Atkinson as well, please. So many families of children with EHCPs are reporting difficulties in receiving responses from the EHCP coordinator and frequent staff changes. This leads to frustration, potential delays with children getting the support they need, and avoidable appeals and complaints. Is there a known problem with EHCP coordinator workload and or staffing causing these issues, and could this be transparently communicated to families? Thank you.
Many thanks for your question. Yes, it's always a concern, the number of EHCPs that the coordinators are having to deal with. I spent some time with that team yesterday and spoke about some of the issues that they're facing. It's something I'm going to pick up with the Director of Children's Services next week to see what we can do in this area, because at the moment the levels are extremely high and they are working under immense pressure, but they're doing a fantastic job. Thank you.
Thank you. Great Yarmouth first.
Still no questions, thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Conservative Group.
Thank you, Chairman. It's a question to Councillor Robin Hunter-Clark for Strategy and Local Government Reorganisation. Before the election, Tom McCabe publicly committed to leading Norfolk County Council through local government reorganisation over the next 2 years. Yet within weeks of the new Reform administration taking office, he'd gone. His departure came as a surprise to most of us, and recruitment is now begun for a replacement at a higher salary. Now, given Reform's repeated promises to cut waste and deliver value for money, except, of course, when it comes to their leader, who they want to pay £250,000 to, can you tell us first if you agree that that is the correct amount that Councillor Bick should receive? And also, can you explain why taxpayers are now being asked to pay more for the role of Chief Executive? Or is it just that you have to pay danger money in order to persuade someone to risk working for a Reform administration?
Thank you, Chairman. She's so bitter, isn't she? We will recruit the best Chief Executive. I'm determined that we will recruit the best Chief Executive for this council possible. And as the councillor knows, we'll be going through that recruitment process. We are going through that process right now. I find it extraordinary how she speaks to members of this council, quite frankly. It's not acceptable. She needs to look at herself in the mirror. She's a former leader of this administration. I expect better from somebody who's a long-standing councillor of this authority.
Thank you. Reform Group. Councillor Kiddle.
Thank you, Chairman. I have a question for Councillor Gould, please. In my division of Marshland South, there is no reciprocal arrangements where Norfolk residents can use the recycling centres in CAMS. So can you update me on the progress you have made so far and assure me that we won't give up until Sense and Sensibility has come back? Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Kidell. This is a long-standing issue. This is a long-standing issue. It stayed on. This is a long-standing issue, and officers have tried multiple times to ascertain and to get a positive response from their opposite numbers in Cambridgeshire County, to no avail, unfortunately. We have a reciprocal arrangement with Suffolk, but not with Cambridgeshire. They do, however, use our recycling facilities free of charge, coming across the border, and that applies to others as well. They have an arrangement with Hertfordshire, but they will not apply it to Norfolk, unfortunately. I have this week written to my counterpart at Cambridgeshire Council, and we are waiting for a response. It would be helpful if our leader of the Liberal Democrats, Brian Watkins, could get in touch with the Liberals of Cambridgeshire Council and ask them why they will not elect Norfolk residents use a recycling centre that is a mile away from their houses, where they have to drive 20 miles to Saddlebow or even further to Wearham.
And I can't understand why they are restricting us in that way. And if he could intervene on our behalf, I would appreciate it enormously. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Moving on to the fourth round. Liberal Democrat Group. Councillor.
Thank you. I've got a question for Councillor Dickerson, the Cabinet Member for Highways and Infrastructure. Earlier this year, the government announced significant funding for active travel and targets of 60% of children aged 5 to 16, usually walking or cycling to school. Can the councillor let us know how many school children in Norfolk today usually walk or cycle to school, how that compares to national average and key competitor or comparator councils, and the key steps this council is taking to get more children using methods of active travel to get to school? Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor, for your question. I was only in a meeting yesterday with coach companies and members and officers here, and it is a key thing for us to get children active, biking, cycling, but the roads have to be safe, the pavements have to be safe. The exact numbers I don't have to hand, but if you would let me, I will come back to you in an email with all the details you've requested. Thank you.
Thank you. The Green Group.
Thank you. I have a question for Councillor Hussey and Councillor Atkinson. A report was published on the 3rd of July called Building a Bridge, How to End the Cliff Edge of Transition Between Children's and Adult Services for Young People with Learning Disabilities in England. It recognises that while many policies and pieces of guidance meant to make transition smooth and seamless exist, the reality for young people with learning disabilities and their families is that this is not yet happening in practice, with serious consequences for their health and well-being. How are we ensuring there is sufficient interaction between children's and adult services so that young people will get the support they need to lead healthy, fulfilling lives as they enter adulthood?
Thank you for the question. Yes, it's very important that there is a bridge built between both of our departments so that when children reach the end of their SEND provision, they get handed over correctly and their needs are being met in the adult sphere. So yes, we'll be working very closely on that, and we will come back to you with a full answer on what initiatives are currently in place. Thank you.
Great Yarmouth first.
Still none, Chair.
Thank you. Conservative Group.
Thank you very much. I'm going to ask this one to the leader this time. Variant of the same question we asked before. Why did the former chief executive leave? Did you have to pay him to go? And if so, how much has it cost the taxpayers of Norfolk?
All of this will be reported to Council in due course.
Thank you. Reform Group. Go ahead, Councillor. Councillor Carr.
Yes, this question for the Cabinet Member for Highways. As we all know, the important Western Relief Road was paused by the bats. Could the Councillor please update the members as to current progress and approximate timetable that's now expected? Thank you.
Thank you for the question. So currently we are working towards a 2029 start. There are a number of issues we have to come across. We have to use the existing road of the 1067 and use the bridge there at Attleborough. There are a number of options open to us at the moment, and obviously the surveys have started. We will be joining the A47 at Wood Lane on the A47, but apart from that at the moment we are still investigating options and the best way forward. What we do know is that the road looks like it's going to have to be a single carriageway, unfortunately, due to Natural England and our bat problem. So I will update you more when we've done some surveys and we know where we stand. Thank you.
Thank you. That's the end of that round. Moving on to agenda item number 10, recommendations from committees. There are 2 recommendations to the Council from the Strategic and Corporate Select Committee Meeting on the 22nd of April, I call upon the chair of the committee to move the recommendations.
Thank you, Chair. As these recommendations were put forward by the Strategic and Corporate Select Committee under the previous chair, I would like to move for Councillor Roper to actually introduce the recommendations.
Councillor Roper.
Happy to do so, Chair. We had a long and robust debate about LGR back in April. It produced 2 recommendations to Council. The first one is now largely academic, which is to recommend to Council that voluntary arrangements to joint committees be stood up as soon as feasibly possible. That has actually happened now because the districts aren't meeting in those. The County Council isn't, and we've already covered that today. So I'd merely ask that Council notes that recommendation today and takes no further action on it. With regard to number 2, this applies to when the structural change order is in place and the Council does have to appoint to joint committees. And the recommendation from the Strategic and Corporate Select Committee is that appointments to joint committees consider the experience of all members, is not drawn exclusively from the executive, and considers the geography of Norfolk.
Thank you. Have you a seconder? Thank you. Councillor Price. Thank you. Do you wish to speak now or reserve your right?
I'll reserve my right.
Thank you. Well, we move on to the recommend. Sorry. Does anybody wish to speak on it? Okay. Councillor Kemp.
Yes, what I would like to say is the recommendation regarding the Leader of the Council to seek transparency from district councils regarding warding arrangements. I would like to know if there's any feedback on this, because in King's Lynn, there's been an issue with the proposed warding arrangements. It's not been transparent, and it would see the loss of councillors from deprived areas. And it's an absolute disaster, and I wondered what this council could do to try and turn it around, please.
Anybody else? Councillor Price.
Just briefly to back up the former chair's position and thank him for his work and the committee's work in helping this council steer the waters of LGR ahead of us, and I recommend the recommendation to the committee, to the council. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Roper.
Does it come back to me? To answer Councillor Kemp's point, a return was required to government by the 29th of May in relation to warding arrangements. I'm not sure how much transparency there's been. I've certainly received it from Broadland District Council. I haven't received anything from Norfolk County Council. It would be helpful, perhaps, if a note went round after this meeting regarding what return was made on the 29th of May, but that falls outside of the recommendation here today. So I'd merely draw your attention to recommendation 2 on page 59 and would urge you to support it, please.
Go to the vote, please. Yeah, 476 abstentions, 1, no one against. Thank you. And that's carried. Okay, thank you. Item 11. Select committee reports. Adult Social Care and Public Health Select Committee report from the meeting on the 8th of July 26. Councillor Kiddle is on the supplementary agenda.
I'm happy to move this report, Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you. Children, Families and Community Select Committee reports from meeting held on the 10th of July. Jacqueline Fry.
Thank you. I'd like to briefly introduce the report from the meeting of the Children and Families and Community Select Committee of the 10th of July 2026. We discussed 4 items on our agenda, ranging from an early look at the budget, savings targets as part of the annual budget setting process, discussion and scrutiny of the Council's SEND reform plan, the risks to the school estates under the local government reorganisation, and an update on the library hubs built in Great Yarmouth and Kings Lynn. We had a rich discussion, and I would like to thank all members of the committee for the time and thought they put into a successful meeting. I hereby move the minutes.
Thank you, Councillor. Health Overview Select Committee reports from the meeting held on the 19th of March 26. Thank you. Councillor Shires.
Thank you, Chair, and good morning, members. I move the report, but before I do, I would just like to thank Councillor Brenda Jones for her chairmanship prior. Councillor Brenda Jones is no longer a member of this council.
Thank you. Infrastructure and Development Select Committee reports from meeting held on the 9th of July. Councillor Catchpole.
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to move that motion forward too.
Thank you. Strategic and Corporate Select Committee reports from meetings held on the 18th of March, 22nd of April. Councillor Barry Gravenell.
Thank you, Chair. I beg to move the report, although I'd like to note that obviously I was not a local member at the time of the committee meetings. However, the contents of the report were approved by the previous Chair, Councillor Roper, prior to the county elections, and I'm therefore happy to move the report in my capacity as current Chair. Thank you. Thank you,
Councillor. Agenda item 12, reports from other committees. Audit and Governments Committee, report from the meeting on the 28th of April. Councillor Boyd.
Thank you, Chairman. I would like to move a report, please. Thank you.
Thank you. Employment Committee, reports from the meeting held on the 18th of March. Councillor Bick. Thank you. Pensions Committee reports from the meeting on the 23rd of June. Councillor Lawrence.
Yes, I move to accept this report.
Thank you, Councillor. Planning Committee report from the meeting held on the 20th of March, 31st of March and the 19th of June. Councillor Costi.
Yes, I'd like to move these reports. Thank you.
Thank you. Item 13, reports from external organisations and joint arrangements. I'm going to move the Norfolk Joint Museums Committee and the Norfolk Records Office reports myself. Thank you. Item 14. Thank you. Thank you. Chief Executive Officer and Statutory Officer arrangements. I call upon the Deputy Leader of the Council to move the report.
Thank you, Chairman. As alluded to earlier, obviously the Chief Executive, following the resignation of the Council's Chief Executive, the process has been started to appoint a new one. An employment committee will be held shortly to agree an appointment panel, and interviews will then be held week commencing the 3rd of August. So we're very keen to progress this as soon as possible. It's still necessary, I'm sure members are aware, for us to have a cover for the Chief Executive, and it's a legal requirement, of course, that we have a head of paid service. Following a short internal competition, Kat Hewlett, of course, as I'm sure members are aware, was appointed to cover that role. It's therefore necessary at this full council meeting to ensure that that role is decided by full council, and the statutory role of head of paid service is appointed here. The monitoring officer role we're proposing will be Caroline Clark, who was deputy monitoring officer to CAT, and she will then assume interim statutory monitoring officer during this time and the transition period to ensure continuity. And it's noted that Caroline will be supported in her role by a qualified solicitor deputy. I'm very happy to answer any questions, obviously, but I move the report, Chairman.
Thank you. Have you a seconder for this? Thank you, Councillor Bick. Any questions, anyone? Oh, here we go. Councillor Webb.
Yeah, Councillor Webber, sorry. My question is, given the expected life of this council is now less than 2 years, why are you recruiting a permanent chief executive rather than a chief executive on a temporary contract?
Thank you for the question. It's an interesting one in a way, but this council needs, amongst other things, stability and somebody committed to the role. There can be no certainty that LGR will go ahead at this point, so we at least have to make the assumption of 4 years. Even if it does, local government reorganisation does take place, then we'll have 3 new authorities, no doubt requiring chief executives. What's much more important is that we get a chief executive in place where he or she is highly capable and highly suited to the task. And it's a demanding one here in Norfolk, I can assure him.
Councillor Webb.
Thank you, Chair. So as was said at the time, the loss of Tom is regrettable, and there seem to be many unanswered questions still over how and why it happened as it did. As many of us had conversation in the days and hours preceding his sudden departure with no indication that this was an imminent or planned decision. I don't think any of us who've worked with Tom previously believe he'd leave in such a fashion at such a crucial time for this council unless he felt he had no choice. And we can only hope it's not the catalyst to other senior officers following the same course. None of my comments, to be clear, are a reflection on the choice of Kat as Tom's interim replacement, as I think we all know her to be entirely capable of it. I do have some concerns over the announcement of the appointment, though, with no accompanying clarity at the time of the impact on the role of monitoring officer, when it's clear that the chief executive cannot also be the monitoring officer. And it took me 3 emails to 3 different people, including the leader, who has never replied, to establish who would be taking up the role of monitoring officer, which I feel is worrying and calls into question whether the administration realises the impact and the seriousness of the role and those responsibilities. Will the council commit to Tom's permanent successor, that it's someone of integrity with a passion and commitment to see through the current challenges of local government, including reorganisation and devolution, and someone who's laser focused in their determination to deliver strong, meaningful services for the people of Norfolk and to look after our precious county and all of its resources? Thank you.
Thank you.
It wouldn't, on the last part of your question, it wouldn't be any other way. I rather thought we'd dealt with the issue of monitoring officer. It's a legal requirement, and on an interim basis we have Caroline Clark in place, so I don't really see where the issue is.
Can I explain? It was at the time when the announcement was made, there was absolutely no mention of monitoring officer, the dates, when the role was going to come into effect, and what.
Sorry, with respect, Chairman, if we can stick to the contents of this report, we're straying into debates on other things. It's very clear what's being proposed. It's very clear what's being proposed here. You know, I'd ask us to move to the vote if there's nothing further. We've set out who's being appointed into which role. So if we can move to the vote.
Yeah, it really isn't a debate as such, but I've got 2 more people just...
Chair, point of order. This is an item that's moved. So you have the speaker, you have the seconder who can speak or reserve the right to speak. you have speeches from other members, and then you have closing. What we've had is question and answer session with the leader responding to.
Sorry, is this a
point.
point of order, Chairman? Are you
It's a
taking
point of
a
order.
order?
It's point 1213 in the Constitution. Yeah. It's a complete. This is not how the item is handled.
Can I ask what the point of order is, please?
Point of order is that you're not moving the agenda item appropriately. You're doing a question and answer with the leader and deputy leader. If they're movers and seconders, they speak at the beginning and at the end.
I've got two more that would like to just... yeah, okay. Councillor Ludson.
Yeah, I'd just like to ask Councillor Hunter-Clark, given that he's just said we need a CEO ASAP and that you'd like to pay them more money, how can we ensure that we're attracting quality candidates here? And how can you say that the proposed salary is going to deliver value for money under those circumstances? Would it not have been better to keep someone in charge at this time of great disruption who is established and well respected? And I'd like to know what went on there.
I'm sure he would. And as I've said earlier, that'll be explained in due course. There are certain things we have to respect.
Sorry, point of order, Chairman. We're doing this again. It's not a question and answer session, Chairman.
Privacy.
Point of order. It's not a question and answer session. We are doing it, straying into the wrong procedure again. Can we please stick to the agenda?
Okay, let's do that.
I've just got one more I'm going to take from Councillor Almer, and that's it.
Thank you very much, Chair. And I think we'd all agree that the leadership of this council is paramount. I do think, however, we're being asked to put the cart before the horse here. We're being asked to approve a role without understanding the circumstances in which the role became vacant. Now, there is a job description attached to this role. We don't know if that job description is accurate because we don't know if it was a lapse in the job description, if it not being extensive enough. We don't know the circumstances under which the previous occupant left, and I think it would be incumbent upon us, before taking on a permanent multi-100,000 employee, for us to have that information. So I would suggest that we should go into closed session and hear the actual explanation for this vacancy before we make a decision on its replacement.
Chairman, if we can move to the vote now, please, on this report.
Councillor Pick, would you like to sum up as a seconder?
I was trying to bring a bit of clarity to this, but then I swerved off the true constitutional path, so I've got nothing further to add.
I think we should go to the vote. Thank you. Okay, the vote has been counted. We've got 46 for and abstentions 32. That's carried. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, thank you very much. Agenda item number 15, appointments to committees. I believe the Deputy Leader is going to propose this.
Yeah, move the report, Chairman.
Thank you. Have you got a seconder? Councillor Gould, thank you. Anybody wishing to speak? Okay, we'll go to the vote on that then, please. Yeah, has somebody not voted yet? Oh.
We've got a couple.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Okay, that's, so here we go. 72 for, abstentions 2, against 0. Agenda 16, notices of motions. We've got 6 motions have been...
Chair, may I humbly suggest that after 1 hour and 22 minutes, and before we get into the second part of the meeting, which is the motions, that this would be the opportune moment to take your midpoint break, rather than debate the first motion.
The multi won't be open yet. Oh, if they want, yeah, then let's break.
Okay. Okay, then we'll... do you want to take a vote on this?
No.
You sure?
You just...
No, let's break then for half an hour.
So we're due back at...
11:55. Give you 2 extra minutes. we've got approximately 1 hour, 40 minutes from now on. Just to recap, we've now gone on agenda item 16, which is notice of motions. We've got 6 motions that have been submitted for this meeting. Proposers have 5 minutes each to speak to the motion. Seconders have, and all others will speak for 3 minutes. So it's 5 minutes for the proposer, 3 for all others. I invite the proposer of the first motion, Councillor Jayden Lister, to propose the motion. Thank you.
Can you hear me? All good? All good. It's been a bit of a tasty one so far, hasn't it, this full council? And I'm loving it. I'm loving being a part of this. But before I start this motion, just want to thank the Greens over there, to Amber Smith, for her apology, because I defend your right to do so of your unsavoury gesture. But let's just leave it out of this chamber, please.
Thank
but
you.
Call me what else. I proudly present this motion to you all as one of the youngest members in this council, because as far as I can see, this motion has caused a bit of a ruckus to those here in this chamber on the left. And I would welcome you to prove me wrong that freedom of speech doesn't just apply to those that you agree with. I welcome that, please. So, in order to be able to think, you must risk being offensive. That is life. That is fact. That is the holy truth of life. And as a young man, I see every single day that our freedoms and liberties are eroding before our very own eyes. We now live in a world, or we now live in a country, in fact, where we imprison more people for hate speech than Russia. Think about that. Think about that. Doesn't it concern you all? And so I implore every single one of you here in this chamber to vote in favour for this motion, to show the people of Norfolk and to show the rest of this country that irregardless, or regardless, whichever word it is, to show them that we defend the very right that upholds this society, the very right that protects our lives, that protects our freedoms, that protects all of our liberties. Because without it, this country will perish. And to finish off, in the late great Anne Widdecombe's words, and I'll paraphrase here slightly, and may she rest in peace, nobody has the right to live their lives being protected from offence or from insult or from hurt feelings. It is an occupational hazard of living in society. And if you really can't take it, become a hermit. And we all may disagree with somebody, but we should defend to the hilt their right to say it. Because you may all feel virtuous today on what you will not hear, but tomorrow someone may feel virtuous on not hearing what you have to say. Free speech is for all, not for the privileged few. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Have you a seconder? Thank you, Councillor.
Thank you,
Do
Chair.
you wish to speak now? Or?
I'll speak now.
Thank you.
I don't think I'm going to change what I'm going to say. So I'm actually slightly surprised. I know there's been a bit of controversy around this. I think the thing to note is Jayden, Councillor Lister's motion is not actually asking the council to change the law in any way. We're not asking the council to lower any standards. And we're not asking for harassment, discrimination, or any type of unlawful conduct or threats to be excused. We are simply asking that the committee responsible for reviewing the Constitution considers whether it properly explains the legal protections for freedom of expression. That's not extreme, it's not dangerous, it's just straightforward, good governance. Every one of us who came into politics did so because there were things that we wanted to say and things that we wanted to change. Sometimes those views may be uncomfortable. Sometimes they will be unpopular. Sometimes they may even be shocking and they may offend people. But if political opinions never challenged or offended anyone, politics would not matter very much. Councillors are not elected to merely politely agree with one another. We're elected to represent residents, scrutinise decisions, challenge policies and hold those in authority to account. And that responsibility sometimes requires us to express strongly held views on controversial matters. I have heard the suggestion recently that this motion may somehow give councillors permission to behave badly. It does not. The law already establishes the boundaries of lawful speech, and this motion does not move those boundaries by 1 millimetre. Nor does it remove accountability or prevent complaints from being properly considered. It simply asks for clarity as to how the member code of conduct sits against the legal protections that already exist. And this is not just about Reform UK councillors. It is about every councillor sitting in this chamber today and every councillor who will sit here in the future. Political control changes, administrations change, governments change. But the principle that elected representatives should be able to speak robustly and lawfully on behalf of the people who elected them should never ever depend on which party happens to hold power. For these reasons, I am pleased to second this motion today and ask members across the chamber to support it. Thank you.
Thank you. I believe we've got an amendment from the Green Party.
Yeah, I'll take my right to speak now, Chair, if that's okay.
Thank you, Councillor.
Thank you. Yeah, so I'm not really sure what the administration is hoping to achieve with this amendment to the Constitution, because as far as I can see, the Constitution is very clear. We do have the rights to express ourselves. We do have the rights to express our residents' views. And Article 10 clearly extends to us because we're all British and European citizens. And I think today is testament of that now. I think we've all expressed ourselves in this chamber today. I do find it interesting, though, that this motion seems to be a copy of one brought by Durham County Council. So Councillor Darren Grimes, formerly of GB News and of Reform UK, brought a very similar motion specifically to reduce the officer time being spent on code of conduct complaints about his social media. And I would like to note that although Councillor Lister is speaking for the first time at a full council meeting, for which I commend him, well done Councillor Lister, he's very active on social media. And actually, when I was looking at some of his videos to try and get an idea of what it is that you would like to be able to say that you can't, I found a video where you seemed very proud to be the most complained about Norfolk County Councillor. So could it just be that Councillor Lister is looking to get ahead of these complaints? Could it be that he is simply looking to cover his own back by increasing the rights he has under the pretense of defending free speech, which he obviously already has? Could it be that this motion is from the exact same playbook used by Reform at Durham County Council to subvert standards complaints? And I would like the administration to confirm today that they don't intend to use the motion in that way to subvert standards complaints, because lowering the standards expected of us and the scrutiny we are rightly held to by residents is obviously and clearly to the detriment of residents. Why are we seeking to give ourselves extra powers and disrespect the rights of residents to object to the things we say and hold us to scrutiny? How does that materially improve the lives of the residents of Norfolk? And I would like to more broadly ask, what value does this motion bring to the residents of Norfolk? What value is this bringing to them? Councillor Bick has spoken in the past of a laser focus on efficiency. And I would ask, where is it? Why are you spending time on virtue signalling and political posturing, on the flags we fly, and now it seems on giving yourselves additional protections so you can say whatever you like in this chamber and whatever you like on your social media? Is this really the best use of the council's time? Residents expect us to focus on the issues that truly matter to them. They expect us to focus on safer roads, on better schools, on reliable care, and on value for money, which I think we can all agree on. So I ask again, what value is this motion bringing to the people of Norfolk? Why are we lowering the standards expected of us at a time when we all need to work together to deliver for the residents of Norfolk? So let's have the debate, and please let's have it in an open and honest and civil way. But let's continue to exercise our right of free speech that we clearly already have in a way that doesn't lower the standards expected of us and has a focus on what the residents of Norfolk truly want. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Councillor. I believe you have a seconder.
Reserve my right to speak.
Okay, thank you. We're going back to Jaden Lister. Anything you want to add? Do you accept the motion?
I do not.
You do?
No, I do not.
You do not? No. Okay, thank you.
So now it's debate on the amendments.
It's debate on the amendment now then. Okay, thank you. Can I call Councillor Watkins first, please? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would like to support the Green Amendment. At face value, the motion that Councillor Lister has put forward seems to recognise the importance of Article 10 and the European Convention of Human Rights, but at the same time, it is a considerable irony that it appears to contradict the position that reform hold at national level. The Lib Dems have long championed the rights enshrined in Article 10 and will continue to do so. I think that most of us would agree that at times politics can be a rough, tough, and at times brutal business, and you do have to have a thick skin. Of course, there is time and room for healthy and robust debate, and disagreement can be uncomfortable. However, there are barriers that should never be crossed, and proper safeguards should be put in place. That is why civility and respect is so important in the way that we conduct debate and dialogue within this council. As the Green Amendment has said, respect has to mean politeness and courtesy in behaviour, speech, and the written word. And I sincerely hope that that is something that we can all agree upon. Not just for ourselves, but for those we serve. Local communities thrive when everyone feels safe, included, and valued. And protecting the safety and well-being of all is paramount to maintaining a vibrant and representative local government. Debate and free speech, including criticism, are cornerstones of a healthy democracy. However, the intimidation, abuse, and harassment of people in public life, whether in person, online, or by other means, poses a huge threat. So all of this has been sadly brought home to us by the sad events of the past couple of weeks, which has been mentioned by Councillor Lister. These behaviours prevent, in my view, council officers and councillors from fulfilling their roles, deter otherwise willing people from standing for election, and in so doing erodes trust in democratic institutions and processes. That's all I want to say for now. I support the Green Amendment and hope others will do so. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Colwell.
Thank you, Chair. I'm grateful for the Greens for bringing this helpful amendment, and as Liberal Democrats, we do not need convincing of the importance of the European Convention on Human Rights, and we are proud to defend it, because it's one of the greatest achievements of post-war Europe and one of the strongest safeguards for democracy, liberty, and the rule of law. Councillor Lister, I hope you're well. I'm pleased to hear you are such a fan of the European Convention on Human Rights. The Convention is not a foreign imposition. It was shaped with significant British influence after the horrors of the Second World War, reflecting values that this country has long championed: freedom, justice, and accountability. Article 10, protecting freedom of expression, sits at the heart of those values. It is right that elected representatives enjoy strong protection when speaking on matters of public interest. Democracy requires robust debate. It requires disagreement. It requires challenge. The European Court of Human Rights has repeatedly recognised that political speech deserves the highest level of protection because democracy cannot function without it. But the Convention is brilliant precisely because it balances the rights with responsibilities. Article 10 is not an absolute right. It protects freedom of speech while recognising that restrictions can be justified where they're lawful, necessary and proportionate. And that carefully balancing of what makes the Convention enduring more than 70 years. I therefore say to colleagues proposing to amend the original motion that invoking Article 10 should never become a shield against the standards of expecting of those who hold public office. I'd remind every councillor in the chamber that we've all signed up to the Nolan principles of selflessness, integrity, objectivity, accountability, openness, honesty and leadership. So let us celebrate Article 10. Let us recognise the enormous contribution the European Convention on Human Rights has made to protecting democracy across our continent. Let us defend it against those who seek to diminish it. But let us remember that the Convention and those Nolan principles are partners, not competitors. One protects our freedoms, the other protects public trust in those who exercise them. And if every councillor, whatever the party, keeps those both firmly in mind, then our democracy, our debate and our council will be stronger for it.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Price.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I wasn't planning to speak on this, but I felt compelled to, and so I thank the member for bringing the motion. It's an interesting motion, but I thank more my colleague for actually bringing an amendment to the motion, because as we've all studied in the Constitution, we've all looked at the members' code of conduct, and we can see under 6.1a. Point 1, to treat other councillors and members of the public with respect. The document goes on. We go on to section B, which is about bullying, harassment and discrimination. And we can see that just under that section there, it says the Protection from Harassment Act 1997 defines harassment as conduct that causes alarm or distress or puts people in fear of violence and must involve such conduct on at least 2 occasions. So our current code of conduct already is very robust about what we can and can't do. It makes it very clear. It references that older piece of legislation, the Protection of Harassment Act 1997, which works alongside the Nolan Principles, and the Equalities Act as well, which came later. So the motion as originally written there, we see we may include language or opinions that some may find controversial, offensive, shocking, or provocative. It sounds like what it sounds like to me is that you're wanting to be provocative or shock, and that's not good debate. Good debate is where you're there and you're listening to each other's views. You don't have to shock. You don't have to be, doing the YouTube videos and wanting the votes and the likes and stuff. You just need to get on and get the work done. And so, I really hope that this amendment does pass, so that we can actually strike a real balance about understanding what our code of conduct is, what our policy is, which I'm sure the member read before, and actually make a robust motion that really kind of reinforces the good work and the good respect that we have. So just the last point there, unlawful discrimination is where someone is treated unfairly because of protected characteristic. Protected characteristics are specific aspects of a person's identity defined by the Equality Act 2010. They are age, disability, gender reassignment, marriage and civil partnership, pregnancy and maternity, race, religion or belief, sex and sexual orientation. All of these topics, all of these issues, these characteristics are protected, and I'm more than hopeful that with this new wording we can continue those protections rather than to have a situation where we are looking to be antagonistic towards each other and members of the public. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Mason-Billy.
Thank you, Chairman. Let me begin by saying that I fully support freedom of expression. It's one of the cornerstones of our democracy, and every councillor should be able to challenge, scrutinise and debate robustly on behalf of their residents. Although my comments this morning haven't gone down particularly well with some Reform members, which is quite ironic, isn't it? But this motion is not about whether Article 10 exists, because it already exists. It's part of UK law through the Human Rights Act, and every public authority, including this council, must already act compatibly with those rights. Our constitution cannot override it, nor does it need to restate it. The purpose of a council constitution is to explain how this authority is governed. It's not intended to reproduce acts of parliament or international conventions. If we start selectively importing parts of national legislation into our constitution, where do we stop? Do we reproduce the Equality Act, the Local Government Act, the Data Protection Act? Of course not. We rely on the law as it stands. This motion also suggests that there is uncertainty about how councillors' rights are applied. I've seen no evidence of that. We already have a members' code of conduct, legal advisors and established procedures to ensure that members can debate vigorously whilst remaining within the law. And that brings me to a question for the proposers. What is it that you want to say you believe you cannot already say today? What legitimate political opinion do you feel this council, the Constitution or the Code of Conduct is preventing you from expressing? If there is such an example, then let us hear it. If there isn't, then what problem is this motion actually trying to solve? What concerns me is the wording that specifically refers to language that others may find offensive, shocking or provocative. And I acknowledge that the Greens have done their best to try to alter this with their amendment. But these words already appear in Article 10. It's case law. They do not need to be copied into our Constitution. Repeating them here risks suggesting that this council is seeking to give particular prominence to the rights to offend, rather than to encourage the respectful, robust debate that our residents rightly expect. Freedom of speech is not freedom from responsibility, and members are perfectly entitled to express strong political views, but they have a responsibility to maintain standards of behaviour. Our Constitution should not become a vehicle for political messaging. And there's no legal gap to fill, nor deficiency in our Constitution that has been identified, and no compelling case for the adjustment. So for those reasons, I urge members to reject both the amendment and the motion, as both are superfluous. This council can spend its time far better doing something more practical. What must residents think about this constant navel-gazing? We're here to do a job, not cover our backsides from criticism.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Sybil Sexton. Thank you.
Shipley Sexton, thank
Shipley,
you.
thank you.
Thank you. Something I find interesting that's been that's been misconstrued, I think, about this is that it says political expressions may include language or opinions that some people may find controversial, offensive, or shocking. That doesn't mean you have the right to offend. It means that you have the right to say things and people may find it offensive. The difference here is intent. Are you going out of your way to offend people, or are you saying something that other people may not be that people may be offended by? You have a right to speak and say things. That is your right. My question is, why would you want to say something that was actively trying to offend someone? You can express yourself, your political beliefs, your political opinions. That doesn't necessarily mean that they must be offensive. Other people may be offended by them. That is their feelings. It's about the intent. And you are a representative. We are all representatives here for many, many people, including people who don't agree with us. And our jobs are still to represent them and to advocate for them and make sure that they are safe and happy and well looked after. That includes people that you may not perceive within your political spectrum as important to you, but that does not stop them being important and their opinions mattering. And your job and all our jobs are to represent them and make sure they are okay. So why would you go out and try and offend anyone when you are also probably offending and speaking offensively about someone you are representing and you are meant to be looking after? That, I think, is a fundamental issue here, that you can say things that may be perceived as offensive, but the intent shouldn't be there. We are representatives and we're meant to safeguard the public. That's the point. Why are we doing this?
Thank you. Councillor White.
Thank you, Chair. First of all, I'd like to just say thank you to Councillor Webb, who approached me before we come back from adjournment to apologise for a member's conduct in relation to the party. That speech that came just before I started speaking actually landed quite nicely, because we're talking about, it's about the intent. Okay, so obviously some people may say things, as you rightly said, that might not have the intention of causing harm. Did your member intend to cause harm with the actions? But, Chair, the main reason I'm speaking now is I rise in support of the reform motion and in opposition to the Green Amendment. The reform motion is about protecting one of the cornerstones of our democracy, the right of elected representatives to speak freely and honestly on behalf of the residents who sent us here. It recognises that robust political debate is not a weakness of democracy, it is one of its greatest strengths. The Green Amendment is both unnecessary and misguided because the protections already exist. Freedom of expression is already protected by Article 10 of the European Convention of Human Rights and the Human Rights Act 1998. At the same time, there are clear legal limits where speech becomes harassment, discrimination, defamation, or other unlawful conduct. The law already strikes that balance. Here in Norfolk County Council, we also have a constitution, a members' code of conduct, and established procedures to deal with unacceptable behaviour. The chair already has the power to call members to order, stop them speaking, and where necessary, require them to leave the chamber. We do not lack safeguards, we already have them. This is which brings me to today's debate. I find it remarkable that members supporting this amendment have spoken about raising standards while some of the behaviour we have witnessed today itself has fallen short of the standards they advocate. We have seen discourteous conduct during this debate that simply reinforces the point that the issue is not a lack of rules, it is fair and consistent applications of the rules we already have. Those who choose public life should expect robust challenge, political disagreement and criticism. We are elected to represent our communities, not to insulate ourselves from the views we dislike. If lawful opinions can be silenced because they offend someone, then freedom of speech becomes conditional rather than fundamental. The reform motion gets the balance exactly right. It protects free speech while recognising that unlawful or genuinely disorderly behaviour is already dealt with through existing legislation and the Council's own procedures. The Green Amendment risks moving us into the opposite direction. It creates unnecessary restrictions where adequate safeguards already exist and risk chilling open political debate. This is not what our residents expect from us. Our residents expect councillors who will speak honestly, debate openly and represent them without fear or favour. They do not expect elected representatives to narrow the boundaries of acceptable opinion whenever disagreement becomes uncomfortable. For those reasons, I urge members to reject the Green Amendment and support the original reform motion because democracy depends on free speech, robust debate and the fair application of the rules we already have.
Councillor Elmer.
Thank you very much, Chair. And look, Councillor White is correct. The amendment to this motion is unnecessary, but as is the motion itself. Now, I'm pleased that Councillor Lister did quote the late Anne Widdecombe because it was the one note I'd made myself, and she was absolutely right. The risk of offence is an occupational hazard of living in society. The right to disagree is very important, but what we've seen today is we have the ability to disagree. I don't think anyone could describe the acts of this chamber as anything other than robust disagreement. So I don't really see what this is going to add to what we already have. Now, I was reflecting on what I consider to be a core British value, and freedom of speech is one of them. I also consider good manners to be another one. Now, to me, good manners means not outwardly going to cause offence, but I don't believe my definition of good manners should be something I legislate for or put on a code of conduct. It's what I expect as part of normal society. So I really don't understand what this motion is attempting to do, because I do not believe it is stopping anyone from saying whatever they want in this chamber right now, which is as it should be. What I do find it slightly frustrating is we heard earlier in response to a number of questions, well, we're not doing that because we're focused on delivery. Well, we've just spent half an hour, and what is this motion delivering? I'll be voting against both the amendment and the motion.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Webber.
Thank you. We've now had 24 minutes of debate, I think, on a motion that I think most people agree achieves very, very little. It's a fairly synthetic motion designed to engineer some kind of debate about free speech. So when I've finished my little bit, because I'd like my little bit, then I hope we can move very rapidly to a vote on both the amendment and the motion itself. But before then, Councillor Lister says he wants some advice. So I thought I would share some thoughts with him in the hope that they're genuinely helpful. The first is that if you want advice on interpretation of the ECHR and its juxtaposition with the Constitution, I would first turn to the monitoring officer and ask the monitoring officer maybe to prepare some training materials and maybe a training session that all councillors could attend, because we all might learn something. Secondly, I just thought I'd share my experience. I've been a district councillor now for 3 years, and I had a training session on the Code of Conduct that I attended. And I took away from that 2 things, and they're the only 2 things I really remember. One is that it's very difficult to remove a sitting councillor. So again, the monitoring officer can provide you with chapter and verse, but really you're not likely to lose your role if you play by the minimum of rules. And secondly, that the Standards Committee has very few teeth. So while you might be referred to the Standards Committee if you're in breach of the Code of Conduct, the chances of anything materially bad happening to you are very limited. They can't throw you off this council. So, you know, you can go quite a long way here. And while I'm on the subject of the Standards Committee, I am a member, and I do expect to see good standards, but I would ask fellow members here, if they are going to make a referral, to keep the bar pretty high. I really don't need too many meetings. And the third place that he might want to look for advice is to look at the collected works of the late MP for Clacton, because he appears to be a past master at making inflammatory and incendiary comments that have very few consequences for him, so you could learn a lot from him. I'd now like to suggest that we do move to a quick vote.
I'm happy to second that motion, Chair, which I think was 11.1J, that the question now be put.
And so do you feel that you've had enough debate? I think so. Yeah, then ask for a show of hands to move to the vote.
Okay, can we have a show of hands to move to the vote on the amendment?
Show of hands to move to the vote on the amendments.
On the amendment?
Yes. Could we have a show of hands, please, on the motion, which is to move to the vote on the amendments? Excellent. So then if we... So that's carried?
That's carried, yeah.
And so then if we hear... Did the seconder reserve their right to speak? I think they did.
Yeah, the seconder would like to speak.
Hear from the seconder.
Thank you, Chair. And I just want to say, for full clarity, I am quite a big fan of Councillor Lister's Facebook page. It's all good fun. But I just want to wrap up. Thanks, Councillor White, for repeating many of the same points that Councillor Mason-Billig made while she was speaking against the motion. I'm a bit confused at how those points could be used for both arguments, but there we go. This amendment is our way of collaborating with the motion, and I'd ask all members to consider coming together on reviewing the Constitution despite our differences and voting for the amendment. Thank you very much.
Councillor Lister gets the last word on the amendment.
Councillor Lister, would you like to speak on the amendment?
I'll keep it brief. Thank you all for your engagement in the robust debate. I do appreciate it a lot, even if it is cheap shots at me, but nonetheless it's still been fairly funny, so fair enough. So I do all hope you're well. But it is nice to see in this local democracy great and robust debate, and it's great also to see the Palestinian representatives here too. Thank you.
Just so we're going to the vote on the amendments.
Yeah. Okay, we'll go to the vote on the amendment. The vote on the amendment. Okay. For 25, against 52, so that's lost.
Let's scroll through and then we'll go back to the debate on the substantive motion.
Okay, thank you. We will now, thank you. We'll now move to the debate on the substantive motion. Mr. Roper.
Thank you, Chair. Keeping it brief, I mean, one thing which hasn't been mentioned in this debate so far, that the motion is calling for review to take place of the Constitution, and no one has actually mentioned that the Strategic and Corporate Select Committee had just set up a working group to review the Constitution.
So essentially what this motion is asking for is going to happen anyway as part of that review. I can give some assurance to the movers of this motion. In 13 years on this council, I've held a variety of roles, from being a cabinet member to being a group leader to being rabble-rouser to being a committee chair. I can honestly say I have never felt in any way constrained by the Constitution in terms of being open, honest or robust in any of the meetings which I've taken part in on Norfolk County Council. So I can give you that assurance there. I have difficulty supporting this motion, not because I disagree with any notions about freedom of speech, but because a review is taking place, and I do wonder, is this the highest priority thing that review of the Constitution should be considering? Because I think in terms of commissioning this review, members of the committee have had big concerns, things about companies' governance, about decision-making protocols, and about actually how this council works effectively through its constitution to turn ideas into action, and whether we can improve the constitution for doing that. So I'm not really sure necessarily, given the discussion we've had, and I respect all the points that have been made, that this is necessarily what needs to be top of the list as far as that review of the Constitution is concerned. It will get covered. I'm sure that members will raise it within that working group, but I don't think it's the #1 priority at all. There are far more important things for us to be focusing on.
Thank you. Councillor Webb.
Thank you, Chair. As Councillor Roper has just pointed out, there is already a review of the consultation taking place. We already have the right to free speech, as we should, and nobody here is questioning that. I do disagree that offence and insults are part of life. I don't believe that's the case at all. It's disturbing that you're trying to get permission to make our political debate more hostile, at a time when violence and abuse towards political figures is already escalating. Freedom of expression shouldn't equal offence. Robust debate does not have to include insults. Expressing differences of opinion and debating opposing ideas can be done, as it always has here, robustly and with civility and respect, without stooping to offence and provocation. How nice that we could all share Councillor Colwell's little joke a little while ago. It was, you know, we all found it humorous. That's great. Genuine and well-meaning humour. No sarcasm and jeering. How does saying shocking things to make our varying points represent our communities or make our residents' lives any better? And we can all see the hypocrisy here of Reform quoting the ECHR, the very Human Rights Convention that you're committed to leaving. Only last week we had visiting work experience students in the public gallery to experience and learn from the debates that are held here. What are they going to learn from us using shocking and offensive language? What will they think about whether this is a safe place for them to come and to want to aspire to? What will they tell their peers about us and what they hear and see here? Do you want Norfolk's children to see and read about us acting that way? And what do you think their is that what you think their parents want them to aspire to behave in that way? You know, is that what they want in the classroom, to be replicated in the classroom, to be able to offend when they're having disagreements, to shock each other? I've never seen a motion brought here that actively asks for worse behaviour to be allowed towards one another. We all signed a code of conduct and agreed to by the Nolan principles. And many of you seem like decent people when you're not in this chamber. And even when you're here, you know, some of you. So I would say don't be bullied by the brash, the harsh, keep your integrity, be kind or at least civil, keep this chamber and our social media safe, and don't vote for this toxic stunt because it just demeans us. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Gravenell, I think.
Thank you, Chair. We've heard a lot of debate in this chamber over the last half hour or so about whether this should be included. The fact is that's not what the motion actually brings. It asks for the committee, of which I sit as the chair, to review it as part of our working group, which we shall do. So I would actually suggest that can we stop wasting so much time and move on to a vote, please?
I think that's all wishes to speak anyway? I think we got through the list. So, Jayden, have you anything to...
My final point is, no, thank you again for this robust debate. And this will be my little cheap shot at the lovely leader of the Conservative Party. No worries. I appreciate the nice little complaint that I received again, or received from you, almost in a love letter from yourself. And but I defend your right at the end of the day to do that, of course. But at least understand when you create a poster, or an AI poster, or whatever, someone created it for you, about Nigel and Rupert in bed together, and complained at the very same day or around the time about the one that I did, about yourself being told off by Cami, about choosing wokeism over conservatism. And again, I'd still defend your right to do that. But may I remind you that you're in the Conservative Party, not the Complaints Party. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Can we go to the vote, please? Okay, thank you very much. It's 45 for, 10 abstentions and 22 against. Thank you. It's carried. Okay. Moving on to motion 2 now. Can I invite Councillor Watkins to propose, please?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Fellow councillors, first of all, I'm well aware constitutionally of the power that's vested in the executive to make many of these decisions. That's a reality, even if it is something that sits uncomfortably with many of us. I'm therefore not surprised to see other motions on the agenda which either challenge or seek to modernise the council's constitution. Nevertheless, I think it is highly regrettable that a decision like this can be taken without any prior scrutiny or consultation with other groups. It's a pretty poor show and has been done without any real justification. I put this motion before you today because I think there is an important principle at stake. Even the small things that we do in our divisions really matter. We might only be talking about £11,000 a year for each member, but sometimes that money can go a long way. And there are so many good case studies, and I'm sure we'll hear more about them during the course of this debate, examples where the local member fund has brought real benefits to people in many of our local communities across Norfolk. Projects which have helped to improve road safety, build new bus shelters, develop more community spaces. Those are just a few good examples of money well spent. So I genuinely believe that across the council that there is real disappointment, even some anger at the leader's decision to remove the local member fund. Many new councillors keen to make an early impact in their roles will feel particularly aggrieved. Removal of the fund further reduces the influence and capabilities of local members to support small-scale local projects which can make a small but important difference. Councillor Bick has previously talked about getting more bang for the residents, but better value for money. But I think it is highly unlikely that this stance, this new proposal, will turn out to be the case if the decision is confirmed. It will merely centralise decision-making at County Hall whilst reducing democratic accountability and local responsiveness. Not only that, it also potentially runs the risk of leaving many communities without funding. Over the years, we have seen many examples of members working closely with their grassroots, extending partnership working with parish councils and community groups to deliver projects that might not meet the criteria for larger council or grant programmes. Little wonder that some councillors are rightly asking whether this is just the start and that the axe may fall on the long-established parish partnership scheme as well. I'm relieved that you have indicated earlier on that it will continue for the time being. So at a time of great change in local government, it's important that local people can see visible evidence of positive change for the better. The leader's rationale behind this decision to scrap the local member fund is to ensure that more money goes towards dealing with the backlog of pothole repairs across the county. That's what he said. This might be something that many people would indeed support, but we are already receiving around £60 million a year from the Department of Transport for that purpose. So adding this small saving of less than £1 million will barely touch the surface. The amounts involved per division are modest compared to the council's overall budget. Now, I'm not suggesting that everything has run perfectly. I get that. I recognise that there has been an underspend on the local member fund during the 2025-26 year, and that is disappointing. We need the fund to be fully utilised. But rather than throw the baby out with the bathwater, let's look at ways that it can be tightened up and monitored more carefully to ensure we get the maximum value for money for local communities across Norfolk. And part of that process should certainly include regular updates from highway engineers to their local members on how their allocation is being spent. I've always asked for that in my division, and that has certainly helped me to keep a track on things. Doesn't need, in my view, a restructuring on a sub-regional basis. So it just needs to work more efficiently than it does at the moment. So I hope that this motion can win the backing of council today. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Do you have a seconder?
I do have a seconder. It's Councillor Mason-Billy.
Thank you. Do you wish to speak now?
No, I'll reserve my right. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you very much.
Can I just ask a point of clarification? If this motion is amended, do I still get the right to speak as a seconder, or do I just take part in the regular debate?
You still get the right to speak, Councillor.
Thank you. We will now move to the debate. Oh, sorry, we have an amendment. Yep.
Thank you. Yeah, I'll move my amendment, and I'll speak now, please.
Thank you.
Yes. So I agree with everything in the motion. I just want to firm it up to make sure that if it passes, that the funding that goes back into the budget is actually is definitely spent, and the programme recommences. So any of us here who were re-elected this year will know the true value of the local member fund to our communities. It's a relatively very small amount of money to this council, but money that nonetheless can make a huge difference to the people and neighbourhoods we represent. I'll never forget the active but physically very frail resident in her 90s who could barely leave her house because she had no way of getting into a vehicle without stepping through the uneven, muddy verge directly outside her property. When I was able to use my local member fund to get a stable hard surface laid, she was once again able to visit her family and be taken on outings and trips to the shops. She was so happy. Small amount of money, huge difference made. I paid for flashing speed signs to slow down traffic, had trees planted in the sensory garden, traffic assessments that have identified necessary safety measures, bollards installed to prevent unsafe parking, double yellow lines laid to enable fire engines to safely embark their station unhindered by parked cars, improved signage put up to stop heavy vehicles passing over a weight-restricted bridge. These are just a few examples amongst many other initiatives. Small amount of money, huge difference made. They may not make the front pages, a jazzy headline or an impressive social media post, but they make a huge difference in people's lives, And isn't that what we were elected to do? Isn't that what we all promised to do just a few weeks ago? So let us fulfil those promises. It's in your hands right here and now today. We know our communities, and there's little we can do sometimes, and we can feel incredibly powerless. But this is your chance to give back some of that power, which is what you say you want to do. And it's okay to make a mistake and change your mind. But now you can show you care enough about the people who put you here to change your mind, reverse the decision, and give our communities back their local member fund. Thank you.
Thank you. Have you a seconder for your... Thank you. Councillor Adams, yeah.
Yeah, I'd like to speak now, thank you.
Thank you.
Today I thought it would be a good chance to provide some insight into local member fund and the importance of it as our role as representatives. So prior to the recent decision to reallocate the fund, each councillor was allocated £11,000 per annum to respond to various local highway issues. Under the current administration, this £924,000 will be divided into each highway area proportional to the number of councillors. This reallocation will neglect local issues to prioritise point scoring for this administration. This £924,000 will account for 1.16 of the £80 million claimed backlog of highway maintenance, at the cost of members losing their ability to make improvements in their divisions. This will lead to fewer road safety schemes, particularly around school zones. I'd like everyone to ask themselves, is additional risk to children and vulnerable adults a worthy trade for fewer potholes? Some other typical allocations are advisory signage, small footpath extensions, improved signage and styles on public rights of way, bollard installations, village gateways, contribution to lightweight flood diversions, contribution to charging points for electric vehicles, speed monitoring, extensions of double yellow lines, larger feasibility studies in which the funding for the 11,000 wouldn't cover the whole upfront cost, but we would get the project started. It would pay for minor drainage works and purchasing grit bins. Those last 2 points being low-cost preventative measures to reduce the number of potholes and to protect our highway assets. I believe the decision to end the fund, just like the removal of political assistance, is intended to tie the hands of councillors to make it more difficult for us as individuals to make meaningful change for our communities. And according to a recent highway performance review, Norfolk is trailing in several topics. We are 25th in advance warning for roadworks. We're 22nd in management of roadworks. We're 27th in signpostage of road diversions. We're 19th in helplines to find out about roadworks, and we're 15th in information about local pollution levels. And there has been a lot of focus on getting the best bang for our buck. However, the administration is comparing apples to eggs. The investment in low-cost preventative measures and safety schemes will make a larger impact on the lives of those that we are elected to represent. And many of us here today have made or will have made commitments during our campaigns to resolve local highway problems, and removing this fund is a slap in the face to our democratic process.
Thank you. Councillor Watkins, do you accept these amendments?
I do accept the amendment, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Thank you very much. We'll move on with a substantive debate. Okay, thank you. Councillor Price, do you want to kick off?
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to thank the Liberal Democrat group for bringing this timely motion, and also for accepting the amendment proposed by the Green Group. I've been a councillor for a while, and in my previous ward of Thorpe Hamlet, we had some really serious traffic issues with 2 schools, parents really fearful for the journey in between the 2 schools, and simply there wasn't money to kind of fund a feasibility study into looking into this safety scheme. So I've used that member fund in 1 year to kind of get that feasibility scheme up and running. Now we have a proper scheme in place, and it's ready for a full development, and this will make a tremendous difference to these people's lives. The reality that you have £80 million of outstanding repair work, and you take under £1 million away, okay, from every single councillor who will know their ward better than anyone, will be speaking to the people and know acutely what really needs to be tackled. To take that away, it's going to take 80 years to fulfill that backlog. That's just, it's ridiculous. It's a drop in the ocean with the problems. Highways is not funded properly and adequately in this country. The central government needs to fund it. It needs to come from, you know, large gas guzzling cars that are, you know, and JAGs going up and down our network, you know, and we need to fund roads properly. We have a huge amount of network that needs to be maintained. It is a challenge in this county. But to take away this funding will completely undermine our ability to support our communities. So it doesn't matter what party you are, okay? You are best placed to help find solutions with that funding. And the reality is, it was very interesting to see the Highways Cabinet member and the member for Crome out on Britannia Road through official comms talking about taking funding to solve a long-standing problem on Britannia Road. When I was in Fort Hamlet, part of my ward was Britannia Road. So I know the problems very well, and I know 2 or 3 schemes that have been brought forward before. So I welcome that that's happening for the residents of Crome, and I'm sure this is not favouritism, and the Cabinet member will be reaching out to myself and the other members that represent Norwich in order to make sure that the schemes that we've had lined up to improve safety and the quality of lives for our residents are also going to be going ahead, because we wouldn't be doing favouritism, would we? So look forward to receiving your call and your email and sitting down with you and getting those projects that I've had lined up, because I've knocked every single door in my ward. I know every single street. I know the problems that are going on there, and I'm sure you're going to help me deliver the solutions. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Neal.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you for the Liberal Democrats for bringing this motion. It was quite a surprise, maybe not, that your new administration made the decision to abolish the Local Members Fund very soon after taking your seats. This fund has been extremely valuable, and the local member who, through time, gets to know better the local issues, especially for road safety and school travel. You say you've chosen to remove this valuable source to fix potholes, but it will hardly scratch the surface of this backlog. I can only make assumptions for such a hasty decision without in-depth local knowledge, because either you are new to the issue and didn't take account of the repercussions, or you believe filling potholes takes priority over residents' highways safety.
Thank you. Councillor Whedon.
Thank you, Chair, and don't worry, I will keep it brief. There's obviously been a lot of discussion this morning about a lot of different things, and what I've sat here doing this morning really is listening. I've listened to what everyone has said, and also listened intently to what the leader of the council said earlier in what he's inherited from the Conservative administration. Whilst we, of course, haven't seen the books at Great Yarmouth First, we fully respect that difficult decisions have to be made and efficiencies have to be found. If we were sat in those seats, we would probably consider the same ourselves. It, of course, would be fantastic to have 11 grand to spend how you want. When that's unregulated, there has to be checks and balances in place, we feel. However, thank you, I've done everyone else the same courtesy. We, however, do understand that difficult decisions have to be made on this. Now, there are, of course, lots of things that perhaps others
Chair,
people...
Can I raise a point of order on that point? Because... because that's not, it's not unregulated. You know, it's very, well, personal explanation then, because that's a miss.
Personal explanation.
Yes, there is, 12.13, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Because that's not, no, why not?
This is not a point of personal explanation. I suggest the meeting continues, Chair.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. I'll quickly sum up and get to the point. Ultimately, difficult decisions clearly need to be made. You know, we do support efficiencies that have to be made. And the last point I'll make on this is clearly the administration have looked at the accounts and the appalling finances they inherited from the previous Conservative administration. We've seen in Great Yarmouth firsthand how the Conservatives misspent money, you know, which was completely unnecessary to residents in Great Yarmouth. And we, as a council, as I understand it, have no authority whatsoever to overturn this decision. To me, this seems a bit of a pointless motion, more virtue signalling, which we seem to have seen throughout the whole of this council. We at Great Yarmouth First, we won't be entertaining this motion. We will be abstaining throughout because it's just pointless and it has no authority whatsoever.
Thank you. Councillor Kemp.
Yes, I would like to say that there are schemes that we've been able to bring into our communities with the local member fund that we won't be able to continue. For example, the Riverside footpath in West Lynn, surfacing that last year, that wouldn't have happened without the funding that we needed, the match funding from the local member fund for SIL, and it was a huge enterprise battling for that. But we did it, and this is what residents wanted, and it's benefited the whole town. It's on the stretch of the King Charles III coastal walk, and it also benefits tourism too. And for a relatively small amount of money, this is going to benefit generations for years to come. Also, the safety element, simple things that we needed weren't going to happen, things like the safety schemes to make things safer around school areas, because the criteria we were otherwise being told would be how many people were killed or injured. This local member fund has really helped on prevention, which is something that needs to be far more in highways funding. And there are other things, for example, things that we had promised our communities. For example, extending and widening the Clenchwarton cycle and footpath. This now won't happen. We needed a feasibility study, and officers had recommended that we needed that study paid for out of the local member budget. Well, that's not going to happen, and where is that money going to come from? It's not, is it? And White Lines near the community centre in West Lynn, we had to wait for some works to be finished, to new properties, before we were allowed to use that funding, and it was going to be on this year's budget. So it sort of left us in the lurch, and we're not very happy about that. What we need to do is to look at this again, and for £11,000 per division, it's a very small amount of money, but could really deliver excellent results that communities wanted. So I think there's every reason here to look at this again, and also for the local fund for communities, which we had last year. That was a terrific success, and it could be used for things like food in the school holidays, for equipment for schools, for cooking classes in the community, in our most deprived areas, and that just won't be funded now. So I wholly support this motion, and I think that it does need to be taken further. We must not give up, because we know that local member fund has delivered huge benefits to our communities, and it needs to continue. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Adams.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Well, I really wanted to respond to the leader of the Restore Great Yarmouth First group, which I found quite extraordinary, really, because looking at his own commitments to his division, 3 of them are local highway schemes: the congestion along Beccles Road, Primrose Way, the safety barriers on the A47 to Hopton, and the improved street lighting in Fritton, St Olaf's, and visibility safety assessments on the A143, none of which he is now going to be able to achieve without the local members fund. So in fact that's half of your local commitments, and you had an opportunity to deal with it today. So that's of course, you've got to make your own decisions. Interesting approach, I would say. This wasn't about a budget save. We've already, sorry, I'm losing my voice this morning. We've already discussed that this is being redirected to other areas of the budget. My own intentions this year were to deal with dysfunctional highways drainage systems that last year led to 3 houses being flooded in my division. So some of this funding has really been used very, very well across a wide number of schemes. I'm aware the County Council have made some sort of announcement around the use of an additional velocity machine. I think that's correct. I'm not disputing the value of such machinery, but generally it's not used in areas high volume sort of traffic or in built up areas with parked vehicles. And we don't want to spray people's cars with tar. So the whole issue with highways maintenance can't really be framed through the lens of maintenance of minor back roads. There's a lot more to the highway network that we've got to be dealing with. And local members have a good knowledge of these issues, and I hope when they've had the opportunity have used this funding well, and supporting the statements made by my leader earlier, we need to make sure it was used to its full extent. So I would urge members to support this. I think it's reduced your ability as councillors, and I think that's a shame. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor White.
Thank you, Chair. So I rise to oppose the reinstatement of the local member fund. The debate's not whether about some projects funded have had worthwhile outcomes. Of course some have. The real question is whether reinstating this fund is the best use of taxpayers' money at a time when Norfolk faces significant financial pressures and every pound must work harder. Reform believes every decision this council makes should begin with one simple principle. Does it protect the taxpayer and deliver the best value for money? The local member fund fails this test. Instead of investing strategically across Norfolk, it divides public money into 84 separate discretionary pots. That inevitably creates additional administration, duplicated processes and fragmented spending. More importantly, it risks investment being driven by individual discretion rather than objective need. Let's be honest about fairness. The local member fund cannot guarantee equal investment across Norfolk. Some parishes and communities inevitably benefit more than others, while some receive very little. Funding can depend on which projects are promoted, which councillor has funding available, or where local pressure is strongest, rather than where the greatest need exists. Public money should never be allocated according to postcode, personality, or political influence. It should be allocated transparently, consistently, and based on evidence. No community should be left behind, and every community deserves investment, but that investment should be prioritised according to safety, condition, and need, not whether there is a discretionary member budget available. We must also recognise that county government is not the only level of local government. Many town and parish councils hold significant reserves, have the power to raise a precept, and where appropriate can borrow to fund major local projects. Where schemes are primarily local amenities rather than county-wide responsibilities, it is entirely reasonable to expect those councils to contribute where they have the means to do so. It is simply not fair to ask county taxpayers to pay twice, once through their county council tax and again through discretionary member funding, while some local councils continue to hold substantial reserves. Every tier of local government should play its part. By keeping these funds within our central highways and infrastructure budgets, we can pool resources, reduce bureaucracy, secure better value through larger programmes of work, and reinvest every possible saving into the roads and essential services that benefit every resident across Norfolk. I heard it said today that this is only a drop in the ocean, but every ocean is made up of drops. Responsible financial management is built on hundreds of sensible decisions. If we dismiss every saving because it appears small in isolation, we should not be surprised when the budget no longer adds up. This is not about taking money away from local communities. It's about treating taxpayers' money with the respect it deserves. It's about spending fairly, investing strategically, reducing waste, and ensuring every pound delivers the greatest possible benefit to the people of Norfolk. For those reasons, I urge members to reject the reinstatement of the local member fund.
Councillor Ringer.
Thank you very much. I think that was a description of a completely different fund. I think the local members fund does an awful lot of heavy lifting in local communities, and because it is separated out between 84 members, it's actually delivered equitably across the entire county, and there's no assurance that is going to happen anymore. I represent 27 little villages. They don't have massive reserves. They've probably got barely 100 residents, some of these. They don't have the money to go with for a feasibility study to change anything. And that is where the local members fund has really been able to help those smaller communities who, even through the parish precept the parish partnership fund would struggle to raise 50% for capital. I wanted to touch on one specific point. Councillor Webber asked a question to Councillor Dickerson earlier about active travel, in particular in relation to schools. And I've got several small primary schools in my division, which would really benefit from some highways safety schemes to promote that. And you said yourself that often it is the road that is dangerous, and that is what is preventing the uptake in active travel. And we've got some identified schemes in some of these villages which would promote that. And the encouragement has always been from the highways engineers that you can use your local members fund to do TRO, to reduce the speed limit, to increase some paving in a certain area. And now that has gone, what is going to replace that, particularly around schools? This isn't virtue signalling. These are real issues in real communities, and we've all got these stories everywhere. And now to be able to go to a parish council and say, sorry, but the avenue that you had towards some highway schemes has just been taken away from you, it's not going down very well. Maybe you're not attending parish council meetings to hear that, but I haven't heard a good word said about this from anyone outside of this room. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Mackie.
Yeah, point of order, Chair.
Yeah.
Yeah, Chair, I just want to ask whether Resolution 1 is competent as it's drafted. The motion does not merely ask for a report. It says reinstate the local members' fund into the 26-27 budget, and also the Green Amendment also further plays on to that part as well in terms of the immediate reinstating
What
into
part
the budget.
of the amendment is the members citing, please?
Well, I'm
Chair?
getting to that, but it's 1.3 under executive power. So what appears to be asking for here is that we're asking full council to override a delegated executive authority decision. Now, can the monitoring officer confirm whether that is something that the full council have the authority to do?
If I can assist just now, my colleague here is the monitoring officer, but given some experience around executive and non-exec powers. So what I understand this motion does is ask that the members, that the budget is reinstated in the budget itself. Now that would be a function of the council. So the council can put money aside in the budget. What is a matter for the executive is how that money is spent. So although money can be put into the budget, it is not, Buck and Doncaster is the case that refers, it is not then necessary for the executive to spend it along those lines. So I believe that the motion itself is competent, but one should understand the restrictions within the motion as to achieve the actual spending of this money in the way that's suggested. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Mackie.
Thank you very much, Chairman. It's interesting to hear the debate so far. There's been a lot of comments from people who have been here a relatively short time, talking about the need to make knee-jerk reactions within the budget in order to be able to allocate money across Norfolk in a more effective way, when they haven't really had time, I would suggest, to understand how parishes and town councils work, and as a county councillor, the importance of this particular fund across their own division. I would have urged members to have really given this one significant time, given that there are a number of people who have talked about the need to make changes in their community, and this is really a vital one, being able to amend things at a local level. Responding to community needs and improving local safety is not inefficient. It is exactly what you are here to do in order to be able to make change at a very local level. I can assure those members who have been here only a few weeks, about 98% of the new administration have only been here about 8 weeks, that some of us who have been here 1,100 weeks, that 98% of your inbox will be highways or highways related, or you'll certainly feel as if it's highways related. And they are small things that you could make a real difference to. And what I've asked some members of the new administration is, where will us as existing members go? It's speak to your highways engineer. Now, members who have been here some time will know the highways engineer will often say this is not one of our key priorities, and the things which have made a real difference, as Councillor Webber's mentioned, will slip down the list. So things such as, in my own division, a new bus shelter, a new crossing for those pushing prams, or the members I met with guide dogs.
those new signs, flashing signs at schools, those who have been able to park in a new parking bay to help local businesses. All these things would not have been a priority for the Highways Department, but they have been recognised as a priority for the local division. I would say that my community has been particularly shocked that without warning, without consultation, an advanced programme of a feasibility study around a local primary school, which was working with the head teacher and local community and residents, has now had to be shelved because of this reaction, which has taken place within year without any real justification to make such a budget change, which is highly unusual given that the full council agreed this budget in February and it was signed off by not only our Section 151 officer, but also members who were here. I would urge members, Reform members and Restore, or Reform Light, as I've seen this morning, that they actually consider this carefully, because I think over the next few months you will understand the importance that this has within our local community. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Taylor, did I see your hand up? I think so. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. All councillors want to make an impact in their division. I think we're united in that. But the fact is that a third of this fund was not spent in the last year. So clearly, several members didn't think it was important to spend it at all. In my division, I have, in a very short space of time, because Councillor Mackie is right, I'm a novice, but in a very short space of time, I've commissioned highways to get on with yellow lines, white lines, bollards, reseeding of verges, extensions of bus stop boxes, clearance of alleyways, and I've done it all without reference to any local member fund. So, and everyone can do the same. So,
thank you. Order.
The point is, much of this fund was not spent, and if members think that having in excess of 300 applications through this scheme is an efficient way for the council to operate, then we clearly have to disagree, and therefore I cannot vote in favour of this motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Bailey.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Spend, spend, spend. That's all we hear, really, isn't it, from the Liberals, the far-left Green Party, and what's left of the Labour Party. But you can only spend once, and every pound matters. We have come into this administration with the council heading towards nearly £1 billion in debt. And we've made the decision that we need to address that and get money back to where it's needed most. Now, I know we'd all like to have £11,000 to please our electors and our residents. We've all got little projects that we'd like to take on board, but that money is important and it needs to go where it's needed most. Andy Burnham, our unelected Prime Minister, left Manchester £1.36 billion in debt. And you guys seem to think, oh, well, it doesn't matter, it's only public money. We are taking a very structured and radical approach to how we spend money in this county. So I urge you all to support the motion. Thank you. Against the motion, sorry.
Thank you. Order. Thank you. Councillor Colwell.
Thank you, Chair. We've heard today that the local member fund is about more than just money. It's about giving local councillors the ability to respond to real concerns of the people that we represent. And so, councillors, we're elected because we know our communities. We hear directly from residents about the dangerous junction, about the reoccurring floods, and that pathway that needs fixing. The local member fund gave us the ability to act quickly, often working with parish councils, as we've heard, local partners delivering solutions without unnecessary bureaucracy. So centralising every spending decision at County Hall actually risks overlooking the small preventative projects that smaller improvement safety that could improve the quality of life in every division. And this motion is not just about restoring a budget, it's also about restoring trust in local democracy, improving accountability through better monitoring, ensuring every community has a voice in shaping local priorities. And for those members of Great Yarmouth Restore, I'm appealing to you today. Now, it's an opportunity for you to put Great Yarmouth first and their local problems. I mean, you've had the 5 opportunities today to raise questions and you decided not to. This is your chance. And despite what Councillor Whedon says, I've had projects requested by residents turned down. The highways officers are actually meticulous, working with their highways technicians, looking at the details, protecting taxpayers' money for important matters only. And hence why we've only heard that a third of the fund has not been spent. And I hope that reassures Councillor Taylor and Councillor Bailey. Let's restore the LMF. And I've had huge success. I want to talk about the successes that I've had in my division. I've had successes in installing flashing road safety signs outside 2 senior schools, a new trod footpath for residents, bus shelters outside a medical centre where I saw elderly people waiting for buses, and it wasn't right. We have the opportunity to respond to the communities that need us, that have been ignored. And I don't want these vast budgets being controlled by Norwich. So I urge members, I urge Restore to support this motion and reinstate the LMF.
Thank you. Councillor Elmer.
Thank you very much, Chair. Now, we've heard several times today allegations about the financial state of this council. So far, no, let me have my word. At the start, Councillor Bick gave a statement and said further information would be forthcoming. Until he chooses to come forth with that information, can I exercise my newly found right under Section 10 of the ECHR and say they're talking out of their rectal areas? But on a more serious level, yeah, I'm going to let you have that one. But the more serious level is actually this fund is here to get it through. And in my area, I was going to use this for speed calming in Keswick, which has become a chief rat run since the roadworks around Fickthorn, and which is now potentially subject to a major new data centre application, which will mean more construction traffic. So I would ask, if the fund is cancelled, will Reform work with me to get this village the support it so desperately needs right now?
Thank you. Councillor Hughes.
Sorry, yeah. While I was disappointed to hear the fund had been removed, I'd already identified areas in my constituent where I could work on projects, and I have 7 parish councils there, and I communicated the decision to them, and we are here ultimately to make sure that the council spends its tax money in the most efficient way possible, and we're held account for it. Now, there is a saying that the pennies look after the pound in business, so I understand why the decision has to be made, whilst disappointing. I always said this doesn't stop works being carried out, it just means the funding must be found from elsewhere. Many of these parishes have a better balance than this council. Many have more money than this council. And I'm glad to see that the money has been ring-fenced back into pothole repairs. This change doesn't just affect, the old administration and people to the right of me, it affects the Reform councillors as well. It's not just us as individuals, it's all of us that are affected by this. So I'm with the decision, and as the predecessor rightly said, decisions have to be made.
Councillor Catchpole.
Thank you, Chair. Touching on what people have already said on this side of the chamber, the money is still there, it's still in the pot. It's not as if it's disappeared into the outer hemisphere. Robust and busy councillors can actually apply for money, build up a relationship with the officers in the background, and up to now I've found it, since the fund has been stopped, it's never been an issue to gain money for projects. Last night I was in a parish council meeting and they were mentioning about a grip in £126, and then it turned out they've got 6,000k or 6k in their precept pot. And I sort of suggested it would be more costly to go through here with the officer's intervention than to actually buy the bin directly, which it does. It would probably take 2 hours of officers' time if they applied for that through the members' fund. So the money's still there. If you build up a relationship with the officers in the background, you can still apply and get things done. Nothing's changed. The money's available. So just build up a relationship is my suggestion.
Thank you. Councillor Shires.
Thank you. It's been really interesting to hear what the local members fund sounds like to people who've never had access to it. And I genuinely mean that, because it's been one of the most rewarding things from a resident perspective, where residents have come with a problem and we've worked collectively to solve it. So one of those would be King's Arms Street in North Walsham, where everybody who walks down the street says the pavements are too narrow. We have parents pushing pushchairs in the road, people in wheelchairs in the road. Those who use mobility aids are slowing down traffic because they need to get somewhere. In order to get the pavements widened, we needed a feasibility study, which was paid for through the local members' fund. There's no money to pay for the work, but now everybody agrees that the pavements are too narrow. The coming year, I had two priorities. One was following a fatality. So we were always told that we can't have road safety improvements, significant ones, unless somebody loses their life. We had a life lost. And all I was asking for was speed monitoring through the local members' fund. That's not going to happen now. The other issue is where we have, and I note that we had an email coming out that we've got a loneliness crisis, which many of my residents will agree with. But residents who have to travel from Sadler's Way or use Backton Road in North Walsham and need a mobility aid cannot do so because the pavement services are just not stable enough for them to be able to walk along, but they do not meet the threshold of intervention from our highways team. My residents now have got to wait 2 to 3 years before they can access the shops and local community centres. I'm really excited that some of the reform councillors are getting really quick wins, but we've had residents who've waited for years just to be able to walk to their market.
Thank you. Councillor Ludson.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I was just really interested to hear about Councillor Taylor's wins in his ward, and I was just wondering, do we have to be on Cabinet to get that kind of result? Well, what's the situation here?
Councillor Davis.
Yes, thank you, Chair. I just want to very briefly say I think this is as much about more centralisation and undermining, really, local representation and engagement with local communities. I don't know where these figures around, parish council reserves come from, because the parish councils I've worked alongside certainly don't have huge reserves that can cover some of these schemes. They are very popular with parish and town councils because it enables that engagement, and it helps that engagement with the county council through the members working together and collaborating. So, and of course the highway engineers are part of that whole process. And that process is collaborating together to understand local issues, local concerns, and being able to address them with proper assessment and professional assessment by those highways engineers. So my concern is very much that it actually makes Norfolk County Council feel even more remote from those communities that we are representing, and that's sad.
Thank you. Councillor Dickerson.
Thank you. Well, most of it's already been said, actually. I had a big bit all written down I was going to talk about, but most of my colleagues have already said it from our side. The bus shelters, there is an 1820 bus shelter scheme available. Everything which now goes through the membership fund, we're not saying it's not going to happen. It just needs to go through the system a bit more. This money has gone back into the system. It was taken out of highways originally. At the moment, we have such a large deficit in highways. Yes, this has already paid for a velocity machine to stay in the county. I know you have safety issues outside schools and things like that. Please put them through to highways. We will look at them. We will do the surveys. Nothing on that will change. But it's so important that we make this money work. There's 300 jobs which came through from the member scheme, and the costs to dealing with those were huge, absolutely massive. So if we put that money back into highways, we can make that money go further. When I was outdoor knocking, the thing which was always said to me was, oh, the roads are in a terrible state. You know, no one ever said, oh, I'd like a bus shelter. You know, it was more the potholes, the road safety and things like that. So, you know, I urge you to think about this and how you vote. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Webb. Councillor Webb? Webber, sorry.
Webber, yeah.
Got it wrong again.
I think I butted in previously. This has been a good debate, I think. A lot of information's come out, and I think possibly also quite a lot of misinformation. And it's difficult working out which is which at times. The advice I've received from highways officers is that there are certain schemes that county council money would have been used for under the local members fund that will no longer have council money available. Now, maybe I've been misinformed, but I think the least this Reform administration can do is Councillor Dickerson, with some help from Graham Bygrave, can send, within a couple of days, information on how the small schemes that would otherwise have been covered by the LMF will be addressed in future, how we apply to get schemes considered, and what the process is for prioritisation. I think a much better way of dealing with this...
Just a moment, sir. Point of order.
Yes, point of order. This is an on-the-day amendment, what he's talking about regarding asking for more reports, which is not in the motion.
I'm talking about the motion.
Carry on. Carry on.
The motion itself is to continue with the LMF for this financial year. And that would be the fair and appropriate thing to do. That was the expectation in the community and in our parish councils when we all were elected back in May. I've heard some good arguments to say the LMF is not the best possible approach. And I'm happy to buy into that principle, that it is costly and inefficient and there are better ways of doing things. But the right way to deal with that is to develop an alternative process, to take it through a select committee and to bring it to this council for approval. It's not just to make an instant decision that we won't run with the LMF for this year. People voted for change in May, and this isn't the change they voted for. I'm surprised that Reform councillors don't understand that.
Thank you. Councillor Clark, I believe, next.
Hunter Clark.
So,
That's
Hunter
okay, Chairman.
Clark, sorry.
That's quite
Thought
all right.
You knew your name by now.
That's quite all right. You call me whatever you like, Chairman. Let's just put some facts, can we please, into this debate. Why did this policy need to change? The answer is quite simple, that we have a highways maintenance backlog of more than £71 million. And if we continue to do what we've always done, that backlog clearly is going to continue to grow. The local member fund has only been in place since 2017. This hasn't been something that members have had access to before that period. Other county councils don't have it. It's undoubtedly, however, funded some worthwhile local projects. But the evidence tells us that during this current financial climate, it's clearly not the best way to invest scarce public money. Last year alone, and Councillor Taylor's already referred to this, it generated more than 300 individual schemes. Each of those required officer time, administration and management, while doing little to reduce the growing backlog that concerns residents most. And perhaps the most telling statistic, and this has already been referred to, was that the fund wasn't even utilised by members in this chamber. £188,000 of it in the last financial year remained unallocated. What does that tell us? It tells us something, doesn't it? That clearly the fund wasn't working. At a time when our roads need investment more than ever, I do not believe anyone can argue that leaving almost £200,000 unspent represents good stewardship of taxpayers' money. We have a responsibility, and we've been very clear about this, that every pound that we have must be used wisely. This change does not reduce investment in highways. It redirects the same amount of money into larger strategic maintenance schemes within our operational highways areas. That means more resurfacing, more preventative maintenance, better drainage, more proactive repairs, investments that help stop potholes forming in the first place, rather than repeatedly patching them after the damage has already been done. So it's simply a better use of spending public money. If the previous approach had been delivering the outcomes our residents expect, we would not be facing that huge backlog. Continuing with a system that is no longer delivering would not be leadership, it would be avoiding difficult decisions. And we are here to take difficult decisions as a new administration because of the mess that we've been left by the previous administration. But we will always be evidence-led. That principle will guide everything that we do over the coming months. And we're confident that this is the right change because the evidence supports it. But being evidence-led means measuring success. I accept that. That's why we will review these changes after 12 months. We'll examine the evidence, assess the outcomes and ensure this approach is delivering better roads, better value for money and real progress in tackling the maintenance backlog. If the evidence tells us something different, then of course we can look again, can't we? But I just want to dispel a couple of myths. This is not about shutting members out. If colleagues have constructive ideas, this has been mentioned a couple of times, come and speak to the administration, come and speak to the Cabinet Member for Highways. We will be only too pleased to help every part of Norfolk in ensuring that our roads are up to scratch. Thank you.
Councillor Thomas.
Chair, is it time, could I ask to extend the meeting, please? Just worried that we're running out of time.
Have you seconded? Councillor Price. Vote for extending the meeting. For how long?
An hour? It's normal, or until we've heard the motions? We've got how many motions? We've got left 3?
You're not going to get that in. I don't think you'll get all those done in an hour.
Okay, an hour then? An hour then. Just go for an hour.
Go to the vote in an hour. Show of hands.
Okay, show of hands to extend the meeting for an hour.
4.
4?
How many? Sorry? I've got 30. How many in the room?
76.
It's a majority, isn't it? Yeah. Okay, and those abstaining?
Abstaining, anybody? No.
And against?
That's carried.
I'm sorry, no.
No, it's not carried, sorry. No, sorry.
That falls.
That falls. Okay, thank you. So are we going to wind this one up now?
So you've got Councillor Thomas to speak,
yeah.
and then you'll want your seconder, and then wrap up, okay?
Councillor Thomas, please.
Thank you, Chair. I'll be brief. Sorry, I've lost my thread now. Councillor Shires mentioned that she'd been waiting for years for some projects, and I'm genuinely very sorry to hear that you've got people who you're saying can't get to the shops. I would point out that perhaps that means that the £11,000 worth of funding, though, is probably not the best way of resolving that. If it's still unresolved, it's not helped, has it? Also, Councillor Mackey, huge amount of respect for Councillor Mackey. I worked with him years ago at Broadland District Council. Councillor, you said earlier that 98% of our inbox would be highways. I can assure you if 98% of my inbox was all highways, £11,000 really wouldn't touch the sides either. To Jan Councillor Davis's point about reserves, Blowfield, where I was the elected member for, you said you weren't aware of lots of reserves, Councillor Davis, and one can look these up for oneself, but the total reserves at December 2025 for Blowfield was over £1 million. £1 million. Now, it's not all 4 highways, granted, but I would encourage all members, I I would encourage, I'm sure Councillor Davies can look this up for himself, I would encourage all members to have a look and take a deep dive into their parish council's reserves and just have a look at what is...
Thank you.
Well, if you've already done it, well, many congratulations. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you.
Second to reserve their rights.
Would you wish to speak now? Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. I'm supporting the motion as amended because I simply don't believe the case for abolishing the local member fund has been made, despite all the discussion here. The administration argues that by absorbing the fund into a general highways budget, they can improve efficiency by 25%, and that is a bold claim. My question is simple: how are they going to measure that? What baseline are they using? What performance indicators will demonstrate that this additional efficiency has actually been achieved? How will members know whether this policy has succeeded or failed? Indeed, the administration has already acknowledged that the decision may need to be reviewed if those efficiencies are not realised. If that's the case, surely they should also tell Council today what mechanism will be used to carry out that review, when will it happen, and what evidence will trigger it. Without clear measures, a claim of 25% greater efficiency is simply an aspiration rather than something that can be objectively assessed. We're also told that removing the fund will allow more road resurfacing and more pothole repairs. Yet other Reform members have suggested that this fund is still available for local member priorities. Which is it? These statements are contradictory and somewhat misleading. Some facts for you. Norfolk is already independently recognised as one of the top 2 county councils in the country for pothole repairs. Our highways team are already delivering an excellent service with regard to resurfacing. I do not accept the unsubstantiated criticism from new members on the previous administration's performance on highways. They obviously do not know what they're talking about. We can only hope that with experience will come wisdom. So the implications that taking money away from local members is somehow necessary to improve pothole performance simply doesn't stand up to scrutiny. The local member fund was never designed to compete with the highways maintenance budget. It exists because there are many small local priorities that simply do not qualify for major programmes that are incredibly important to local communities. I myself have been able, by funding traffic surveys, to demonstrate that new pedestrian crossings are now needed in 2 of my villages. This has enabled highways to access government funding for these bigger schemes. So the small seed funding has enabled us to access far bigger pots of money, and I would suggest far more than the 25% efficiency that this administration are hoping to achieve by relocating this fund. And that brings me to a fundamental point. Who knows a division better than the councillor elected to represent it? By abolishing the fund, the administration is taking decisions away from local members and centralising them at County Hall. So if you want to give up one of the few tools we have to respond directly to our residents, then you should be able to demonstrate clearly, transparently and with measured evidence that this decision will deliver what it promises and be a better system to access bigger pots of government funding than the current system. So far, I've not seen that evidence, nor does there seem to be any mechanism being put in place to check it. For those reasons, I will support the motion as amended, and I urge colleagues to do the same.
Thank you. We will go to the vote now. The 3 hours have now elapsed, and the meeting has not been extended. As a result, and in line with Rule 4, we will now cease all debate on the matter currently under debate and move to the vote. Okay. So, for 32, abstentions 9, against 36. So that's lost. Thank you. We now have to move to the part of the meeting where all remaining business, be that recommendations, motions or amendments to motions, will be considered, moved and seconded in line with procedure 4. There will be no speeches, no debate. The motions or amendment will be displayed on the screen in the meeting I would like to propose the possibility of all the following votes in this section being taken as recorded vote. I would like to use the singular decision on this to extend all votes taken in this section of the meeting. Could I please have a proposer for this?
Have you proposed, Chair?
Thank you. Seconder. Thank you.
And a show of hands.
Show of hands.
Take as recorded votes.
Recorded vote.
Yeah, take all these as recorded votes. Yes, that's...
Sorry, Chair, can you just confirm what we're voting on, please?
The vote is on whether or not, so normally in this section we would take all of these as recorded votes because we're not speaking on anything. It's so the public can see who's voted for or against, but of course that's a matter for you as a meeting. The rule is we only need 25% of members to vote for a recorded vote to be carried. So please, if you could do a show of hands again, that would be helpful. Thank you. Okay, yeah, that's carried.
That's carried. Thank you.
Right, so we're going to go to motion 3.
Yep, okay. Right, motion 3.
So Councillor Wysotsky,
Councillor Wysocki.
would you like to withdraw?
Would you like to
Do
withdraw?
I have time to introduce it, or
No.
I-
Also withdraw it.
can I withdraw my motion, please?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Motion 4, Councillor Wedden, does he wish to withdraw it?
Motion 4, Councillor Whedon, do you wish to withdraw it, or it can come back next time?
No, if we can just carry on with it, please, Chair. If we can put it to the vote, I'm happy to go to the vote.
Okay.
With the addition. It wasn't amendment, was it? It was another word for it, wasn't there, Lane?
It's been an alteration.
An alteration. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you.
Okay, so if we do a vote on the alteration to the motion.
Can we do a vote on the alteration to the motion then, please?
I'm sorry, Chairman. Do you mean vote on the altered motion or vote on whether the alteration can take place?
Sorry, Alex, could you take the vote down, please? And could we have the alteration to the substantive motion on screen, please? Sorry, Chair, you're right. If I just jump in here for a second, it's a bit confusing. And if we could do the first vote is on the alteration to the motion. This would normally require the consent to the meeting, so the bit in blue.
Can I have a point of clarification, please? The alteration is by the Green Group, isn't it? Should they be asked if they wish to continue with that or not?
No, it's not the case. The alteration is from the Great Yarmouth First Restore Group.
Thank you.
Okay, so could we vote on the alteration, please? If you could line that vote up, please, Alex.
Okay. For 50, abstentions 19, against 8.
Alteration is carried.
That is carried.
And then if we could vote on the substantive.
Can we now vote on the substantive, please, after this is rolled? Okay, that's 47 for, abstention 16, against 15. That's carried. Thank you. Motion 5. Proposer. Do you wish to withdraw it or?
No, as it's current, I'd like to have a vote on it, please.
Okay, thank you. Okay, 432, abstentions, none, against 45. That's fallen, that one. Motion 6, Councillor Kemp. Do you wish to withdraw it?
We're asking if she wants to withdraw her motion.
Yeah. Do you wish to withdraw your motion?
I'd like it to be voted on, please.
Just ask her to confirm a seconder.
Have you got a seconder, please?
Yes, I have.
Who is that?
Who is it, please?
Yes, Chair, I'm happy to second it.
Okay, thank you.
Let's put that to the vote.
Okay, let's vote on this one. Thank you. That's carried 69, abstentions 5, against 2.
Just got that little bit left. It's back one from
Oh,
here.
sorry. Yeah.
There you go.
Oh, there you go. Thank you. Agenda 17, questions under Rule 9.3 of the Council's Procedure Rules. 2 questions have been received, those being from Councillor Ben Weston and Councillor Alexandra Kemp, respectively. Written responses from the Cabinet members for Highways and Transport have been circulated to members in advance of this meeting and will be appended to the minutes. That's the end of the meeting. Thank you for attending today. Thank you very much. Thank you.